We've been living in sin so long, all the feels are gone. Fella stopped me on the street last night, said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day alright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go! All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. You seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again. You gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over, it's about time. Oh, all sing your high line on the roller coaster of life. You've got to all choose your timeline with the roller coaster of life. been living in sin so long, all the feels are gone. Fella stopped me on the street last night, said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day upright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go. All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. Oh, you seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again, you gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over, it's about time. Oh, all sing your high line on the roller coaster of life. You've got to all choose your timeline with the roller coaster of life. Roller coaster. I want to go.
The Buffalo Bills will be back on the practice field tomorrow morning, and they'll be joined by the media for the media's one viewing portion for this week. We also are expecting to hear from Bills offensive coordinator Joe Brady. This week, though, we'll wrap up OTAs with mandatory minicamp, then scheduled to take place next Tuesday through Thursday. And speaking of OTAs, Patriots' newest wide receiver, Stephon Diggs, was in attendance today and practicing for New England after missing last week. Diggs is less than a year removed from tearing his ACL. Huge hit today for the Lions. Three-time All-Pro and four-time Pro Bowl center Frank Ragnow announced his retirement earlier this afternoon. Ragnow spent his entire career in Detroit after being a first-round pick by the team in 2018 and did just turn 29 this May. We also have the Madden 26 cover athlete. It is Eagles running back Saquon Barkley. No playoff action for the first part of this week. The Stanley Cup final rematch between Edmonton and Florida is going to get going on Wednesday, and every Cup final game can be heard right here on WGR. With coverage of the Stanley Cup final on WGR, presented by Fiegel Car and Joyce, your border attorneys, and brought to you in part by Window Nation, the perfect fit for your home and wallet. While the NBA Finals, that is going to start on Thursday. Both OKC and Indiana looking to claim their first NBA championship. And the Mets, they're in Los Angeles for a 4-game series against the Dodgers. Game 1 tonight, first pitch, just after 10 p.m. It's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
If you wrap foil around that, just like the little bit of the base part of the banana where the fruit is, wrap foil around that top and they will last longer.
You know, I'm something of a scientist myself.
Who needs your bananas to last longer, though?
Look, I don't want to go to the store every other day for bananas.
They're 8 cents each.
What the hell are you talking about? What is going on?
You're going to wrap them in foil?
They're better when they're just a little green. Yeah.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Too much work.
Not that much trouble. Written.
Too much work.
Says the guy that's got a spreadsheet with 3,000 fantasy teams.
On WGR Sports Radio 550.
Saquon Barkley on the cover of Madden. Not Allen again? One and done?
Losers.
For now, at least. Barkley hurtling up some poor guy.
He's on
the cover too.
Has ever been a back-to-back on? I can't think of one.
It seems Well, it seems like they'd want to avoid that.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Unless who would it have been? I mean, even like Mahomes, Brady.
There's always somebody else.
Yeah, you just sort of want
a lot of stars
to
in the
appeal
league.
to a different part of your customership, if that's a word.
I guess I shouldn't be surprised, and I probably shouldn't admit this because Alan just would have gone through this, and maybe I should have known more about how that cover comes to be. But I saw what was on the cover. It's Barkley hurdling that dude from a game last year, and I just assumed it was a clip from the game, and that's the cover. And so, but then as the day went on, I was seeing footage of him hurdling over. I assume they did not make that same player come in to be jumped over.
I'm pretty sure you're right.
Yeah, that probably someone just, a placeholder, and they'll CGI that dude if they need to, whatever, make sure it's the guy from the game. I just didn't know that they had to sort of restage that for the cover. I just thought they would just grab a photo of it from the game and that would be that, but I'm naive.
I don't know. Maybe they could do that. Maybe there's some reason why they can't. I don't know. Barkley is the number one player on the board for MVP this year right now that is not a quarterback. And I guess that can't be surprising. Who else would be more deserved? Who else would likelier win, if it's even something to imagine happening?
A non-quarterback
winning the MVP. Especially, maybe just period, but I think especially with the quarterbacks we have now. There might have been, I think it's Adrian Peterson who last won it, and this goes back more than a decade, well more, when that happened. But there was a little bit of a moment there, maybe, when Brady, Manning, Breeze, Rivers, Roethlisberger were leaving, and Mahomes, Jackson, Allen, Burrow were entering, where you might have had it didn't happen this way, but there might have been a year or two there where you could have had, the league where the quarterback position was really in flux.
The hierarchy had not yet been established with the new guys, but it very quickly became that.
It is interesting that didn't happen, though. Mahomes and Allen and Jackson, et cetera, were so good, so young, that, there was overlap with, Brady, but there was never, sort of that void, right. I would say. And now...
Yeah, we did not have even a year, really, of where are all the good quarterbacks?
Right, that's what I'm saying.
At all. More the opposite. More like, wow, more guys every year, and maybe some of that was forced. Like Herbert, I felt like I lumped in there just to make the point of all these incredible young players who are crashing the beaches here all at once, and they all probably didn't deserve to be, on that tier. But whatever, that's how it felt at the time. Great young player, look at this guy.
No, that's fair, but I think he's an example, and there are several of quarterbacks that are at least players you would consider franchise quarterbacks.
Yes.
The Chargers are not. Maybe the Dolphins are, but the Dolphins have, committed to Tua, so that's not really up in the air. Prescott for a minute was kind of dangled, by or just didn't get the deal yet. Then he did, and then guys like Hurts did before they were even up, and that's Allen and that's Burrow, right? But even the tier down like Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, maybe quintessentially. Is there a conversation out there that team is looking for someone different?
No.
Not really.
I think probably internally and for sure in the fan bases of a team like that, like Jacksonville specifically, they're waiting for him to take up residence permanently on the top tier. Are you going to get there? But no, there's no question, at least, for a few more years, I would say.
It's really an interesting time. It's great, even. It's not as interesting for debates because there aren't as many teams. There aren't that many teams where you just have this question. You've got teams like the Bills where there's no discussion. They're all set and they plan to be for at least 5 more years, top tier guy. You have teams like the Chargers. I think, Prescott for Dallas is maybe a little bit in between.
Yeah.
But just players where there's really not much of a conversation. And because of last year's draft, you've got, 6 more teams that are ranging from over the moon like Washington would be with its then rookie to the Bears, or maybe even Denver,
who are at least hopeful, hey, we got a guy.
They're open to it.
This is promising. Right.
Yeah, they're not giving up yet.
Right.
Minnesota, we don't know because McCarthy missed the year. Penix, we know a little, but he didn't.
Played 3 games.
He played 3 games, but he looked fine.
Yeah, he looked fine, but this is not a lot there.
People love May. He hasn't done anything yet, but they love him anyway.
Right.
So it doesn't leave many teams that don't have at least somebody that might be their answer. And the teams that are that, like the Browns, are just so nowhere, probably, unless one of their rookies just is great out of the box or something. But where, like, you don't even have a conversation there either. It's put off at the Giants, like next year.
Yeah.
Well, no, the Giants is wrong now because of Dart.
They do have a first rounder there, yeah.
That's right. They did make that move. Is what it is, I guess. I did mention the MVP odds. Let's play a game.
Okay.
Let's say I give you $100.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Thank you for this $100.
That was the whole game.
What shall I do with it?
That was the whole game.
Whatever shall I do with this $100 I just came into possession of?
$100 to bet on NFL MVP 2025. I've got odds.
Okay.
Do you know the favorite?
I haven't even looked.
Jackson is the favorite.
Okay.
It's essentially a
fix.
3, almost 4-way tie.
Doesn't really make any sense. Right.
Jackson plus 550, Allen plus 600, Mahomes plus 650, Burrow plus 700. Then Daniels plus 850. And I've got, after that, it's like 20-1 and up. How would you bet that? Last year at this time, we're filling in between the draft, the schedule, and camp. We talked about MVP quite a lot and how Allen was, how did this turn out? Seemingly well-positioned to win. Mm-hmm. And I think of it being for 2 main reasons. Well, 3, actually. 3 main reasons. One, didn't turn out to be like a big division favorite or even division favorite at all. I'm thinking about that now. Like, my point last year was you're going to have to win 13 games. I guess that box was checked last year because the Bills did win 13 games.
Okay.
So you're going to have to win your division, maybe have the top record in the league almost. So I guess I'm saying 3 things. One would be that they had that opportunity. I'm forcing that one. Another would be the Diggs trade. They took his top 2 weapons away. So Allen would, in this line of thinking, get more credit.
Heavier lift.
For their winning if they win. And that, I think, happened. Mm-hmm. I think part of the Allen case was Mac Hollins, et cetera.
Right. No
alpha receiver, and he still made it work. It didn't come down to numbers because he really didn't have the numbers. But it's those things, and I think this is consistent and what we were on last year. Like, no way Jackson wins another.
Right.
And he put a season down where he really tested that.
He really took that for a spin.
He was the first team All-Pro.
Yeah.
And I think the only reason he doesn't win
is because of last year.
Is because he'd won 2 already.
The previous whatever.
Yeah. I mean, 3 is the most rarefied error in the sport for a quarterback, for an individual. Mm-hmm. And he's not 30. Like, slow down.
Right. I thought the postseason failures would be held against him to some extent, even though it shouldn't enter into it. It's just we're sort of anointing you. And when you made the point about 3 being rarefied error, that was the exclamation point on that point to me. Is that there's going to be enough people that just are not going to want to put him in that category until there's some sort of postseason success. And again, that doesn't have to be by the letter, the rules, or the objective of the voting committee, but I just think it would enter into it. I think that if it's close, I'll defer to another guy because I'm elevating this guy to a place that I'm just going to say I don't feel like he's earned it entirely yet.
However many voters there were that maybe they wouldn't want to admit it, but looked at a bigger picture when it came to him and this award, I think some might have done what you're saying. Like, where are the championships? Where's the Super Bowl? Mm-hmm. Allen's the same, though.
Yeah.
And that vote happens before the playoffs last year, so last year's results in the playoffs don't count, and neither guy got there again.
Right.
So I think it'd be some part postseason because of the way quarterback is associated with postseason success or vice versa. I think another, though, is simply this is not a criticism. He's not so clearly above, especially Mahomes. Like Mahomes has 2. Are we really going to give Lamar Jackson 3 MVPs before we give Mahomes 3 MVPs?
Right.
What are his weapons, And I guess maybe the points are attached. The playoff success Mahomes has had is a big part of why he's got this, and it's not like it's a fluke, but he's got that kind of status that he does. So if that's not the same thing, I think it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
But both worked against Jackson and would either be different going into this year. I don't think so. Mahomes didn't win a third. Allen won 1. Burrow doesn't have 1. Burrow can at least say, I've got a Super Bowl appearance, unlike Allen, unlike Jackson, like so far. But he's not on the board yet, and neither is anybody else of these younger Hurts, and Daniels is in the conversation now. So I think maybe Jackson's narrative is the same, unless, he does the same stat line as last year, which then I think voters will go like, all right.
I have no choice but to anoint you this because, I also think some factor could be, again, like I'm not in the minds of these voters, but I think there is within some people who vote for some awards. Is that vague enough? The league benefits from having more guys that win that award. I think it's good for the league. It's good for the different markets and the fan bases, and I think it's just good for the marketability of the league. If you've got, it's not just Mahomes or Jackson every year. Here comes Josh Allen. I think there's some tendency to it's his turn. Yeah. Here's another really great year, and on the heels of, you could have really statistically done what you did with Jackson's year this past year when Josh won it, the year before with Allen versus Jackson. There was some justification for feeling like Allen deserved it over Lamar that year. He had the best record, but his numbers, some of them, yards, touchdowns, a lot of things, sort of were behind Allen pretty significantly. But so turnabout's fair play in that way. But now Allen's got one, and I think the same year from Allen, he has a very hard time winning a second one because of all of this, right? If people were quietly, not even conscious of it, penalizing Jackson for already having 2 and not having any postseason success, they spun to Allen. Okay, here, it's credible enough. Allen won't have that benefit this year. There'll be more like what you just indicated. I think of a tendency to look back at Jackson boy, I probably was too hard on him last year. It's going to be softer. I think a voter would feel more compelled to reward Jackson after sort of penalizing him for nothing. I mean, he didn't do anything wrong necessarily, but I think it would just be harder for Allen to have the same year and win.
Yeah, someone else has to make a case, though, right? I'm not saying that has to happen, but what you didn't have last year is really a third option. Your third option last year was Saquon,
right?
Who finished third. Burrow missed the playoffs, or else he wins.
Probably,
I
right.
think.
Yep.
He had the most yards. He had the most touchdown passes. I mean, they just didn't make the playoffs, so you're disqualified. I think it really did seem twisted each of the last 2 years in the end because of Allen's numbers. It's actually funny because I make this point about James Cook. The numbers from 2 years ago are better, but last year Cook sets the touchdown record, Bill's touchdown record. Allen wins the MVP. Both guys the year before, I think you could at least show had better seasons, but the team didn't. And I think it's 2 years ago now, or a year and a half, but when you go back and think about how that manifested, when voters were probably kind of giving in to Jackson winning a second, the Bills were 6-6. So I feel like maybe it was just too late.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be how it works, but that is human nature, is to sort of kind of maybe discount maybe that's ironic, but discount the end of the season a little bit because you've already kind of decided who you're going to vote for, right? So Jackson ends up winning almost unanimously when the Ravens were the 1, but he didn't really have the numbers.
Yeah, I remember sort of settling for, oh, yeah, it's going to be Lamar. Sure, he deserves it. And then when I found out, like, so much so that I did not spend really any time at all looking at their seasons against one another. I would look at the case for Lamar. I sort of knew what kind of year Allen was having, but it took really until Aaron Schatz voted for Allen and then pointed out the discrepancy in the stat lines. Like, oh my gosh, it's a much better year there for Allen. But this is how it goes. And then that sort of happened the other way the following year with Allen getting the award over Jackson, despite a statistically more impressive season, is just kind of an oddity, I think, within the whole thing. But
I wonder if the voters, again, not like it's necessarily a conscious thing, but are kind of hoping for someone else, even if it's Mahomes, who's won too, someone else to make a case that can kind of change the script when it comes to this award and these other two guys, because it doesn't have to just be a two-man race, the same two guys every year, especially when neither of them is the quarterback of the Chiefs, who just win the conference every year. So who could that be? If I gave you $100, are you putting it on Allen? I mean, not all of it, some of it. 6-1. 6-1. I'm not Sammy P here with it was 8-1 last week, so too late or something. I have no prior, action here when it comes to this. That's also, since I mentioned that point, you're also trying to predict the market, get closing line value, and if you think somebody's going to, if Allen's going to go to 2-1 or something like that for some reason, you'd want to, it'd be more of a reason to bet him now.
Talking this through the way that we have, I don't know, and this is not at all to be taken as I don't think the Bills and/or / Josh Allen are going to have an excellent year, but I don't know that I would bother. I think it's going to be really hard for him to win a second one in a row.
That's right. It's not only 2, it's 2 in a row.
We will not have the playoffs this year for him to put any kind of exclamation point on it. So you're just really going to be looking at the year, which, again, that's how it is every year. But, it's just you reach a certain level, I think it gets harder to sort of gain entry into the next level of favorite. And I just think he's going to have a harder time this year. I also think Lamar, unless he has a year that really measures up to his statistical prowess from last year, I think a third is tough. I would be inclined to I'd want to find a long shot in there, Dak Prescott, or you mentioned Jaden Daniels. I might divvy up my $100, some of it on each of those guys, and then put the rest on Mahomes. I think he's been the best guy so far in this era. And if he has a year where with healthier receivers, where it looks more like a Mahomes season, unlike the dip of last year, really, and he's Mahomes and he's already got the Super Bowls, I think it's easier to elevate him to a third MVP.
Yeah.
So I would, thinking about the odds and trying to guess with these voters how they would be motivated and what would get them to act, I would like Mahomes out of that group probably the most.
I think that makes sense. Prescott would be one of your favorite 40-1 for Prescott.
Just because that's a big famous team, and if they have a 12-win season or something, I could see him throwing for 5,000 yards.
Okay. They would probably need to win the division, and that's going to be tough, but it's not impossible. And, man, he's a player that people just don't like Dak Prescott for some reason. It almost never sounds like a good argument, which when you hear people, ragging on him. He certainly has fans too, but he's somebody that I think maybe too many people have decided is just kind of mid to win the MVP. Speaking of him, 2 years ago that when Jackson won and Allen got the 1 vote, Prescott was my pick for that award for a lot of that season. I thought he was the most deserving that year. Then he had the game here.
Right.
And that went so badly, I don't know if he had a chance. I don't think he was favored at that point. I think Jackson probably was, but still kind of died there. And Allen threw for 91 yards in that game. Right. So that didn't help him either.
Right. Yeah.
The Dallas-Buffalo game may have been big in that vote.
Do you still have the odds up there?
I do.
Where's Jalen Hurts in all this?
20-1.
Okay.
That's pretty juicy.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Defending Super Bowl MVP.
Right.
Where's my credit? What does his year have to look like? He was not in the top 11. I guess maybe he did not get a vote at all last year. What did they do, 1 through 5 last year maybe? He did not get a vote. He's not on the list. He had a better season than that, right?
Right.
Darnold got 3 vote points.
Right.
And he was good.
What is the knock on Hurts? Is that there isn't enough passing volume? Just football
What is the
card
knock on
stats?
Hurts?
Like what is it exactly?
That's the right question. I don't know. Team wins like crazy.
Right.
Is his team too good?
Maybe. Is
it like sort of the argument against Sean McDermott for Coach of the Year because Allen's too good? So
right.
That's a tough one. What is the argument against Hurts? Barkley might have been some of it.
Yeah.
But Derrick Henry existed, and he didn't get a vote, and Jackson finished second. Maybe not apples to apples.
Yeah.
But Barkley had 2,000 yards, but Henry he crushed. He had 19-21 and more touchdowns than Barkley on fewer carries. Oh, scandal. Scandal. All right. MVP this year if you want it. 803-0550. Mike Tenier will join us. Bulldog mentioned Aaron Schatz. He and Mike worked together a long time at what was then known as Football Outsiders. Mike will join us. We'll talk some other stuff too. Sabres. Well, I don't want to tell you.
Okay.
But one topic involves nudity.
Oh, my.
Yeah. That's not the Sabres one either. The Sabres one has nothing to do with nudity, but I do have a funny thing for you from the weekend.
Hurts only threw for 2,900 yards.
What's Allen? 37. Is that a big enough difference? 50 a game?
I think so. Okay. 18 touchdowns. Passing. I'm just looking at his passing stats.
But and he has the rushing like Allen does.
He does.
But that's the difference between the award winner and 0.
Right.
Is Allen to Hurts in the MVP voting last year. Your thoughts, 803-0550. Thanks for being with us as we start another week. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
spot. Same thing with the two safeties. You're like, they're capable starters, but are they a step down from what they've had in the past? But the defensive line depth is crazy. The offensive line's in good shape. The wide receiver core is incredibly deep. They just don't have an ex-wide receiver and show no particular desire to get one. Top to bottom, I think the Bills have a really good roster.
Sam Monson laying it out. His podcast with Steve Palazzolo is excellent. They do one almost every day. It's called Check the Mic. And Sam, as you may know, has been on our show many times. Talking about the MVP landscape going into the upcoming NFL season. Upcoming, is all right. I know. It's just in the future is all I mean. It's not imminent. But it'll be there. It's not around the corner.
We're not hearing footsteps of the season creeping up on us.
Let me see. It's 94 days until the opener, I believe. Last Tuesday was 100.
How do those guys put a podcast together every day just talking about football? That's amazing. How do they do it?
How does anybody do it?
How do they do it?
Was thinking about, I forget why. During our conversation before, I brought up the NBA MVP history. I forget why, but I have it. I was just looking at it and thinking about it. The last American-born winner of the NBA MVP award is James Harden.
Really?
7 years ago. Giannis, Jokic 3 times. Embiid was born in Cameroon. And SGA this year from Canada. Other foreign-born NBA MVP winners, Dirk Nowitzki, Steve Nash won back-to-back, and Olajuwon. That's it. But it's 7 years in a row that someone not born in the USA has won the NBA MVP award. Why is that hard for me? All kinds of questions. Let me get the naked thing out of the way.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
I imagine you played some golf this weekend?
I played Friday and Sunday. Sure.
It was golf versus Guelph. You played golf, I played Guelph this weekend, or my son played
How
Guelph.
How challenging was Guelph?
In golf terms, mid, hard, but not too hard.
From the tips, where I'm sorry,
I don't know. I'll have to figure that out.
We don't need to mix the metaphors.
I'll figure that out.
Anyway, so Guelph.
It's accessible.
Yeah.
It's almost 2 hours, and I went up, down Saturday and then Sunday. I spent most of the weekend there. On the way, there's a sign, and I think the fact that there's a sign is one of the most interesting things about this. Mm-hmm. One of those, you can picture the Ontario signs, here's this.
Yours to discover, maybe.
Okay. Great Wolf Lodge. There's a bed. There's a little, like the emoji type thing. There's like a bed with a roof over it. There's a little water running underneath it. And there's something else. And like Great Wolf Lodge, this many kilometers, this turn left. One of those signs, and more than one, as it turns out, is for the Ponderosa Family Nudist Resort. On the way to Guelph, there are signs, plural, like it rates on a level where there's a blue Ontario sign pointing, like African Lion Safari.
Right, like or like the wine trail, except it's naked people.
Except it's the Ponderosa Family Nudist Resort.
Naked families.
I really don't know. Up between Hamilton and Guelph, I think I would say.
Okay.
And it was like 6 kilometers that way. It's really all we talked about all weekend.
What do you suppose life is like at the, what is the name of it? I want to say
Ponderosa
the name.
Family
Ponderosa Family.
Free plug.
Yeah, wow.
And this was a source of amusement all weekend. I said, and it's just like it didn't really work as a line, but I'm like, I wonder if there's a gas station in there. It gives a new meaning to the word unleaded, which doesn't really work. And my son's like, how about premium? Which is way better. Give him credit for that. Just talking about what's going on. Is it a family nudist resort? Is that what the word family means in the thing? Like, is it for the whole family, or is it just...
That certainly is what's implied by the use of the word. I don't know any other way to interpret the use of the word family.
Well, a certain family may have founded it.
Oh!
That's what I think it probably means.
I see. The Ponderosa...
Yeah. So...
okay, yeah.
We're talking about it again last night.
I don't think you should have that in the title if that's not. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Don't you love, though, that Ontario promotes it
I'm going to get more information here as we go, so I don't need to keep asking questions.
Don't you like? It's not.
Yeah, sure.
It's not one of these where you just have to know where it is.
Right. Or
Ontario will point you to it.
Or like when you go to a family reunion at Emery Park and somebody gets there early and hangs paper plates with your name on it and an arrow or something. Yeah. This is the government that wants you to go
Dan's
to the Ponderosa
50th is over there.
Ponderosa Family Nudist Resort.
Yes, you nailed it.
Got it.
I mean, it was the talk of the weekend, even at the dinner table last night after we're all home. And my wife was like, don't Google it.
Which, right? Of course...
I immediately did.
Right.
I had to.
No question.
So to speak, there's not a lot to see there on the website. But I don't know. I thought it was kind of funny that it's there. Maybe not funny. Interesting that it's there and that there are signs for it.
When you enter the name of the place and try to enter their website, is there you must be 18?
No.
No? Okay. Just curious if it's
No, but you don't see pictures of people.
No. Okay.
At least on the main page.
Right.
So I wanted to get the nudist thing out of the way so you didn't have to wonder all day what that was going to be. Was it a letdown? I didn't go to it.
Couldn't find the time to just take a little side trip there
Talked about it. Wonder, is it one of these sort of places where you can't see in?
Just out of curiosity, what's going on over there?
My son and I on these road trips have this thing where we sort of feel like every country club that we pass, there's no visibility from the highway.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when we went to UMass last year. We're passing all these probably upscale country clubs, but you can never see a golf hole.
Yeah.
The trees are so built up around it.
That's how they want
Probably
it.
Helps for sound, too.
Yeah, sure.
That's how they want
That's what private club means.
Yeah, that's what private club means.
People like me can't rubberneck from the street and see your swing on 7.
Yeah, it's not one of those.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there are a lot of those in the world.
Whereas if you timed it right, you might be able to see people hitting tee shots at Delaware Park while you're traveling on the 198.
Or Orchard Park.
Many of you probably have. Yeah, that's exactly right, too. Right.
6, 7, 8, 9, right along the street there. So, you can't see in, and we were both like, that's probably how this nudist colony is.
Yeah.
You might be able to get up to a gate.
Yeah.
And then have to answer some questions.
Well, I do, and not that you've indicated any different. Maybe the most interesting thing about this is that there's the government sign for it.
Yeah, that's what I think is interesting. It's promoted.
That really is. Right.
Maybe it's even Canadian run. I don't know. Maybe it's run by the government. Probably not.
Yeah. It's probably not a family. You're probably right that it's the name. But they should change that name, I think.
You do?
Yeah. I mean, I
want to assume it's working well enough.
If I were a nudist,
go on.
If big if is Herculean.
Do people know that he was before the stream started? That he would work naked in here? We made him stay home for 3 years using COVID as a front.
Imagining us coming back from the next break, and I'm sitting here like the guy in Seinfeld on the subway car after Jerry falls asleep. Jerry opens his eyes, and the guy's just naked with a briefcase covering his mid region.
What would happen?
But I'm going to do that for the stream.
What would happen?
I think we probably get in trouble.
We? I'm not doing it.
Okay, well,
I'm not even encouraging you yet.
If I were a nudist and searching for a nudist resort,
yes,
one that
probably
has family in the name might sort of. I don't think I want a part of that.
No, that can't be right. Yeah. You take 5 seconds to look into that.
Find out what's what there. Okay,
it's just probably some family that established it, that owns it. I'm pretty sure that would be right. Not easy. I'm not having an easy time thinking of a transition out of this topic.
Well, I mean,
let's just take a break and come back and see if Bulldog is still dressed, I guess, is what we'll do. What a cliffhanger.
Spoiler, I will be dressed still.
Spoiler. That is a spoiler. Nobody's happy. Everybody was hoping.
To ruin everything.
That is a big spoiler. Mike Tanier talk football with us, unless he's listening now, and cancels at 4. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, WGR.
dancing so long, all the feels are gone. Fella stopped me on the street last night, said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day upright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go. All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. Yeah. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. Oh, you seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again. You gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over. It's about time. Oh, all sing your high line on the roller coaster of life. You've got to all choose your timeline with the roller coaster of life. Roller coaster. I want to go down the rabbit hole, down the rabbit hole of life. And now it's about to leave. Oh, roller coaster.
Couple of tweets from listeners. This will be interesting if you haven't been listening yet today. Maybe somewhat. First from Stashes. All this MVP talk, now I'm going to have to burn my money on Jahmyr Gibbs in case he breaks the scrimmage record while adding 20-plus touchdowns again just to see the award go to a quarterback. Maybe Barkley and that season did open minds up to a running back, or maybe it did the opposite because he had a historic year and didn't win.
Right.
And Allen really didn't have a historic year and beat them, 3-1.
Yeah, I don't want to say there isn't a year out there. Maybe the person responding there or replying to your Twitter has such a year. But I think if Barkley didn't get it last year, it feels to me like it could be a little bit like we were talking in the first segment where people have a seed planted. Maybe they thought about it. They were conflicted about it and didn't do it. So if another guy has that year plus, then maybe, but I highly doubt it. I highly doubt it.
Also, Kyle writes in to say, I knew the second you said Guelph and Naked together, you were talking about Ponderosa.
Mm-hmm.
Not a place, I know the drive very well, he says, not a place I've checked out. But knows right where it is. So he's got a head start on many.
The signs will tell you right where it is.
That's right. That's right. They do.
Although maybe he has even deeper knowledge. But yeah, fine.
Maybe. With all the driving, and my son often falls asleep on these drives, so I bought an audiobook. They give you the recommendations from what you listen to. What do I listen to? A lot of 20th century American history, specifically Watergate, JFK, that kind of thing. And so I have a few books on each of those subjects, and it recommended sort of a minute-by-minute account of 9/11. And the author is maybe also the same as one of the Watergate books. So I decided to buy the 9/11 audiobook, and not even half an hour into it, I went, why did I do this?
It seems like that would be a very
we're playing it in the car.
Thing to listen to straight through.
We're playing it in the car, and let's not.
Yeah.
And then when we got home, I listened to it alone for a bit, and it's just, it's 9/11. It's just really hard to listen to.
Yeah.
But I'm going to make it through.
All right.
There's a lot I don't know about the details, and just always been kind of afraid to dive in.
Yeah.
But The Only Plane in the Air, I think, is the name of the book I should mention. How about this thing hockey did with the Selke and King Clancy Awards and Barkov today? They surprised him. No big show or anything like that. They just basically this way announced that he had won.
At a hospital. A hospital appearance that the team was making, or he as part of the team? Yeah.
I don't know which, but they gave the picture of him with kids on each side and two trophies, and then they reveal the voting for the Selke.
I thought, honestly, all of that stuff waited until they have some award show I would never want to watch in a million years from Vegas with bands I've never heard of nor would ever be interested in playing at the same time.
Well, that's what usually happens.
And a host that's making jokes that just plainly are not funny. That's the show. Don't miss it. So I did not know that the awards leaked out in any way. Maybe they did something special for this case, and it seems like it's being received well, so maybe they will do this more often. I don't know, but yeah, I think that was a pretty cool touch that they did that the way they did that.
Yeah, me too. And looking at the voting, it really is mostly a list of the league's best players. The Selke, is it different now in that way? Like Barkov, Reinhart, Cirelli, Heischer, Eichel finished. Reinhart and Eichel each finished top 5 in the Selke. Draisaitl, Marner, we've seen him on this list before.
Yep.
Kopitar, another one.
Yep. Regular. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer, I would think, probably.
Yeah.
And you get lower on the list, Alex Tucken at 15th, and it's guys maybe that you think of in a different way.
I do think it has changed in this way from when Craig Ramsey was contending for it when we were kids, or Bob Gainey won it maybe 3 or 4 times in a short period of time. Or I'm sorry, I shouldn't say it like I know that. I felt like for a while he was always the guy for that, but it might have come spread out over his long career.
No,
I don't know.
He won 4 in a row, the first 4 years of the award.
Okay. I'd want to go back and look. Ramsey had a couple of years where he scored, but I feel like it's much more common in the league now for there to be guys who are 80 to 100 point scorers who are also counted on as 200-foot guys. Like Eichel has really morphed into a player who is one of the most dependable, relied upon 200-foot players in the league. But he still is putting up points at that, like an elite, he's not McKinnon, McDavid level, but like right below that. And I don't know that the award, it still should be, and it is, I think, recognizing defensive excellence, but you rarely see a guy that doesn't have 80 points on the list. It seems like the guys that play enough minutes to be in a shutdown role also have to score.
Yeah.
I think if they're going to be, so your best guy, if you have two top centers, one of them better be capable of matching up and winning and defending against the other team's best guy.
By the way, according to Wikipedia's list, the award has not gone to a winger, if you prefer, since 2003. Lettinen.
I was going to say Yuri Lettinen with Dallas.
He won 3 times. He would be the guess. It's almost all centers throughout history.
Yeah.
Other than Gainey, Craig Ramsey won once, like you mentioned. Dirk Graham, Lettinen, and that's it. Everybody else is a center.
I just feel
Bergeron
like
won 6.
It's man. I think it's just less likely that you're going to have a guy that's playing the third most minutes on your team that is your shutdown guy necessarily. You're just going to need it to be one of your better players that plays 20 minutes a night and scores.
Michael Pekka won twice. Once for the Sabres and once for the Islanders as well. The Selke. The finals start Wednesday in Edmonton. They're going to make you wait. NBA is later than that.
Thursday is the NBA. And the hockey goes Wednesday, Friday, Monday, Thursday, Saturday, Tuesday, Friday, or something.
That sounds like a very mixed up calendar.
It
sounded like you were trying to think of the days of the week, but not in order.
Right. I think I'm trying to memorize that, but I think I got it right there.
The woman in The Godfather.
Right.
Michael's wife in Italy trying to...
Wednesday, Friday, Monday, Thursday, Saturday, Tuesday, Friday.
Wednesday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday.
There's a couple of gaps in there, including this one while we're waiting for it to start.
Excited to learn today that USA-Canada women's hockey is coming to Buffalo November 8th. That is great. And tickets for that game go on sale on Thursday. Mike Tanier, back to football next here on WGR.
wrap up this week for the Buffalo Bills. The media will be in attendance tomorrow. We are expected to hear from Bills offensive coordinator Joe Brady. And then following OTAs wrapping up this week, mandatory minicamp is scheduled to take place next Tuesday through Thursday. Speaking of OTAs, Patriots' newest wide receiver Stephon Diggs was in attendance today and practicing for New England after missing last week. And we also had some retirement news today. The big one, Lions center Frank Ragnow. Ragnow spent his entire career in Detroit after being a first-round pick by the team in 2018. He turned just 29 in May and is a 3-time All-Pro and 4-time Pro Bowler. And then former Bills cornerback Ronald Darby also announced his retirement today. The 31-year-old suited up for 6 teams in his 10-year career. The first 2 years were with Buffalo. No playoff action for the first part of this week. The Stanley Cup final rematch between Edmonton and Florida will get going first on Wednesday. Every Cup final game will be heard right here on WGR, with coverage of the Stanley Cup final on GR, presented by Figo Car and Joyce, your border attorneys, and brought to you in part by Window Nation, the perfect fit for your home and wallet. And then on Thursday, the NBA Finals will get going. OKC and Indiana looking to claim their first NBA championships. Then in baseball, the Mets in LA for a 4-game series against the Dodgers. First pitch for tonight, just after 10 p.m. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp.
You might be mocking me or you might be staunchly agreeing with me. I can't tell.
I'm mocking you.
And the Bulldog.
What is Fozzie Bear's role in this production?
On WGR Sports Radio 550.
Talking ball. That's what we're doing. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. Thanks for being with us. Exciting to have Mike Tenier with us again on the West Her hotline. 2 Deep Zone, that's TOO. MikeTenier.substack.com. Hi, Mike. It's been a while. How have you been?
I'm doing great. Happy Josh Allen's honeymoon to those who celebrate.
Yes, and first question, the obvious question for you, Mike, how was the wedding?
I wasn't invited, but I look at the pictures, and Josh's hair looked really floopy. I think his hair flooped a little bit on him there, but that'll happen. Hot day in California, you get a little floop.
Well, I mean, maybe you know this, Bulldog and I would. You go 20-plus years of marriage later, and you look back at those photos. I've got one that's of my wife and I that's framed in our house, and I was highlighting my hair in my early 30s because I didn't want to be gray at 30. And every time I look at that picture, well, drawn to what? My wife, one.
Beautiful, right.
She's one, and then my hair is two, and it bothers me, Mike.
Well, the highlight of my wedding photos was that I had hair.
Yeah, well, that was the right choice, probably at the time.
I still pretty much look the same. No, I don't.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Right. So, Mike, it's funny to start.
Lie ever told on this show.
It's funny to start here. We started today on the MVP odds for 2025, and usual suspects: Allen, Lamar Jackson, Mahomes, of course, Daniels, Burrow. That's the top 5. How do you think about last year's result, or also the year before? Your longtime partner Aaron Schatz came on our show after the MVP vote 2 years ago and raised his hand. I was the one vote for Allen out of 50. Mm-hmm. And then last year, Jackson wins the honor for All-Pro, but Allen wins the MVP. Do you think voters tend to bring legacy into play with that stuff?
Oh, 1,000,000%. I have a funny feeling that a lot of people who would have voted for Jackson looked at Josh Allen and said, well, it's his turn. It's his turn. They're close. And, you probably won't get anyone to admit that. But at the end of the day, I think that's fine. I don't think it was that far off last year. I think you could have almost done a toss-up. Jackson had better metrics overall, but you could look at Allen's impact on games and see how great that was. And you could probably say the same things last year. I guess that makes it interesting for this year as you look at both of them. You say, well, if it's Allen and Jackson again near the top, and let's say Mahomes doesn't have a phenomenal season, will the voters just be like, hey, Brock Purdy, It's
Right.
Will that be the mentality at this point? Well, we got to pick somebody else because we keep picking the same three guys. You can kind of see that in past votes. I don't know if we're going to see that again.
Yeah, in talking it through during the earlier portion of our show that Mike's referring to here, Mike, I said if I had the premise was he's going to give me $100 to spend on MVP gambling.
Yes.
I would lean toward Mahomes, not with all of it, but ahead of both Jackson and Allen, because I think Allen, that he got it last year, and it was somewhat controversial that the same year he's not getting near it again, because like you said, I subscribe to that. Like, I don't think voters would actually like say this publicly necessarily. Maybe some have, but it is his turn. He's been really great, and this is a year we can give it to him. And I think that lifts all boats. It's good for the league. It's good for attention on the league, which in some ways is good for people who report on the league. Yada yada yada. So that all lines up to me. And the Chiefs have had a couple of years here where the offense hasn't been all the way there. So if Mahomes has like more of like a throwback to when he had Tyreek Hill type year, which is possible, Rashee Rice back and Xavier Worthy in year 2, I feel like Mahomes would be the guy that I would think, because he's got the hardware of the championships already. So getting him a third one, I think, would sort of line up with the era so far.
Yeah, and again, it's been a couple of years, so it's not like, oh, it's the same guy every year. And if I'm doing $100 right now, I want the juice. And right now, Mahomes is at plus 700. I'm actually load up my sports book while we were speaking.
All right.
Mahomes at plus 700. That's a little more juice than Lamar Jackson plus 550. Josh Allen plus 550, tied there. So get me a little more action on this if I'm just kind of throwing out this money, because you're rolling dice pretty heavily, especially among those three guys. And let's say maybe those 4 or 5 with Burrow and Daniels. If you're rolling dice, you might as well say, well, what's going to be my biggest ROI if I hit?
And there are, I think, makeable cases beyond the top 5. Jalen Hurts at 20-1. Bulldog asked earlier as we were talking about him, like, what's the argument against him? And I'm not sure I've had a good answer for that. He's got the team success, the rushing piece. I don't know, like what? Go ahead.
They change rules. They try to change rules to prevent him from doing the thing he does best. That's a pretty good sign of value and unique value there.
That's right.
So yeah, that's a good one. And you can do sleepers. You can like Justin Herbert. What if he actually has that year?
Right. That's
at plus 1,800. C.J. Stroud. What if they got that offensive line functional and the rest of that division's a joke? He's at plus 2,500. I don't necessarily advocate for that, but listen to that juice. If you're just messing around this time of year, why not really mess around and see if you can hit on something big?
You mentioned Purdy. I'm not looking at the odds. What is the number on him?
Higher.
Plus 3,000. And I think at this point in Purdy's career, if they have this season where they go to the Super Bowl and Debo's not there anymore, and it's not this defense, and McCaffrey is older, you can't just say, well, he's a push-button game manager and all these guys are amazing. You have to start recognizing, oh, yeah, this is a guy who's making a lot of these things happen. And, the third time he leads the team this far can't be a fluke.
How likely, not to leave the conversation on MVP for dead, but knowing you were coming on, the 49ers and Purdy without Samuel, with McCaffrey at the age he's at, there's other losses there. How likely is a bounce back from them? I mean, a lot must ride on Purdy still functioning at the level he's been functioning at with all those weapons.
And here's the thing. I've got Aaron Schatz's DVOA projections in front of me. I can't give you the exact number. The bounce back potential is really high. It's really high. All the indicators suggest, you lose Debo, but look at the guys you get back. The 49ers were almost historically injured last year. If you start lining up the injuries, you start listing guys you don't think about on their defense, on their offensive line who are hurt, it was staggering. They've gotten healthy. They lost a lot of guys on defense, but they drafted an entirely new defense, and they're getting some guys back healthy. And Debo's the only significant loss. Ayuk is back. Kittle has a new extension, and he's healthy. They drafted guys like Pearsall and Jennings, who played very well. So there's a lot of reasons to believe this is a team that's just going to bounce back very quickly in 2025.
With Mike Tanier, and if I may go back to MVP for one more discussion. So last year, Mahomes finished 6th. Allen, Jackson, Barkley off 2,000 rushing yards. Joe Burrow, who wins if his team isn't as bad defensively, probably he had the numbers.
Yeah.
Goff. And Goff is 30-1. Part of Allen's win, I think, was predicated on the loss of Diggs, even maybe also Gabe Davis. And, he wins the award with Mac Hollins leading them in touchdown catches at 5. That's something. It's a lot right there. Goff loses Ben Johnson, Mike. Like maybe.
And now it's center today.
And changes up front, right?
Yeah, you know what? If you had talked to me 6 hours ago about Goff, I'd say I kind of like him at plus 3,000. And now Ragnall's hurt, and I don't have a full update on what's going to happen. His backup is a young man by the name of Mahogany Jones or something like that, or Spencer Mahogany. So I don't know how that's going to be an impact. I wouldn't make the move right now. I'm surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if his plus 3,000 is 30-1 goes down to like 35-1.
Okay.
When people really look at this, yeah.
Yeah, and Ragnow is retiring.
Ragnow is retiring is the news today. Yeah, so they will have to pivot to something new there. I read something. I don't know about this name you're clawing at there, Mike, but that there's someone there that has like center experience in college that's already that maybe they may pivot inside. But anyway, still big loss. That's an all-pro player there in the middle.
Yeah, I think it's Graham Glasgow who's going to move inside. It's Tate Rutledge who's going to move inside. That's who it's going to be, probably.
Mike, here with the Bills, I mean, there's, as usual, not a lot of drama. Diggs did provide his share in his turn, but he's gone, and he's giving the Patriots this joyride, so to speak, this year. He was on the field today. James Cook is our number one thing, I guess. I mean, mandatory practices are next week. There's really no indication that he'll be around before that, even if that. I think, he's kind of planted his flag for, a big contract, and he can't just walk in June on his old deal, right, if he's going to do that. So his value to them for you is what?
There's a tier of running backs right now, if you look at their salaries, guys like Chuba Hubbard, and like Ramondre Stevenson, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but they all have very, very similar-looking contracts. And these are the very, very good running backs of the NFL, and they come in at a number around, give me 1 second, it shouldn't take me long to pull this up, in a number at around like $40 million over a couple of years, $36 million over 3 years, or 4 years. And that's where I think he comes in. I have the feeling that he believes he's at the Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley class of running backs, but you have to kind of do it to earn it with those guys. Barkley had a phenomenal season, and he had 2,000 yards, then he gets another deal right away on top of that. Henry did the same thing, where he had to kind of take a low-ball deal because he's older, and he has a phenomenal season, and they hand him another deal. You can't miss that intermediate step of having that superior season. Cook has not had that yet. He had a lot of touchdowns last year, obviously had 1,000 yards. A lot of touchdowns were product of the system touchdowns. Let's face it, him at the 2-yard line with Allen next to him, he's with that great offensive line, he's going to get in. If the impasse is that they're not offering him the kind of money that guys like Ramondre Stevenson and Aaron Jones make, that's a Bills problem. If he's holding out for a Barkley-type contract, that might be a Cook problem, and that might be something that the Bills dig their heels on.
Interesting. Makes sense.
That's kind of where I would be. Like, I don't, neither want to really imagine this offense without Cook there, Mike, because they don't everybody eats at receiver, right? I mean they just don't have a real go-to guy. I think you get to Cook pretty quickly when you ask the average fan, like, who's the next most dangerous guy on that offense after Allen, and I think it's Cook. But his playing time is nowhere near what the level of a player that I'm going to pay $15 to $17 million a year to. So, I guess I'm sort of hoping that eventually, come summertime, he realizes that he's got to play, and that there isn't a compromise to be had here. And I'm kind of rooting for that, honestly. Nothing against the kid. Like, I like him just fine as a Bills running back, but I don't want to be saddled with a big contract I'm going to regret in a year.
And the problem is with the Bills, you guys are keeping that core intact, and you have to be economical while doing it. And can't let somebody go out the back door because you paid too much for your running back. And he's a difference maker to a degree. You've got Ray Davis, who I thought was really good coming out of college. I don't know if he's the same player, but I don't know what some of these guys would be if you put them behind Deion Dawkins and everybody, and you put them in this very balanced offense, and you put them next to Josh Allen. Would they be 90% as good as James Cook, 95% as good as James Cook? Those are questions you got to weigh before you start guaranteeing money, say in 2027 and beyond, for somebody who, again, is coming off a 1,000-yard season, but a lot of times it's 14, 15, 16 carries a game. He breaks the long one. He gets the short touchdown. That could be replaceable production in that system.
With Mike Tanier here on WGR, Mike Schopp and the Bulldog. So I know you speak sportsbook. You showed us that earlier. The AFC East. Last year was so interesting for the Bills for a couple of reasons. They were just not they were not explosive at all last year, but even with that, they scored 30 points a week and they won almost every game. And I think we're probably looking at the same kind of a season here. And maybe in this division this year, it goes like last year, which is that it ends up being kind of a runaway. I don't know. How do you see the rest of the AFC East? Let's start with New England, because it seems like everybody I hear talking about the Patriots is, not in love necessarily, but definitely in like. I mean, the Patriots are going to be a buzzy underdog this year.
Yeah, that's people are in like with them because they added everybody in creation under the sun and on the boat this offseason. And, I think that took them from an easy out to a tough out. That didn't take them from an easy out to a tough contender. I'm looking at the DVOA projections. The DVOA projections say about the same thing. I'm looking at their odds. I would not take them at plus 475 to win the division. I think they're a team that you're just not going to be able to overlook, which you could frankly overlook the Patriots last year as the Bills, and you can't do that this year.
All right. That sounds right.
Yeah. Do you think their schedule is pretty favorable? That's the thing that sort of got this started. We looked at their schedule one day last week, Mike, and I honestly, without trying to peg, because I'm sort of in the camp that Mike describes, right? I'm like, they walk in the bar and they've got my attention right away. Like, oh, what's going on over here? That's New England this year for me. And then, but with that said, you go through the schedule and it's not. I mean, a 6-2 start is entirely realistic looking at who they play.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now with the Raiders and the Panthers and the Saints and the Titans and the Browns very early in there. So, yeah, that does look like the team that gets to the wild card conversation based on that, and then later on in the season, the Bills and the Ravens show up. At the same time, I'm looking at the Bills' schedule, and after the big bumper against the Ravens in the opener, you got the Jets, you got the Saints, you've got the Patriots in there. So the Bills can be 5-1 entering their bye as well. But I don't think it's good for the Patriots rebuilding early in the season. They'll have some winnable games, so that builds the confidence. I don't think that turns them into a team that's going to be a worry for the Buffalo Bills in terms of winning the NFC East.
The thing about the Bills schedule, Mike, I think is that they have 4 – it's amazing how this lined up with it being the last year of the stadium. They've got 4 great games: Baltimore, Kansas City, Cincinnati, Philadelphia. That's the order. And they're all at home. Yeah. So they don't travel out west at all.
Right.
Their hardest road game might be the Texans. And so it's easy travel. And the four big ones are all home games spread out.
And the Eagles travel up there December 28th. Some of my buddies who are Eagles fans here in Greater Philly, I didn't hear any of them texting that they were heading to Buffalo for the December 28th game. And nobody was volunteering to go up there in that weather for a ticket that's probably hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So, yeah, that is a very good schedule for the Bills.
The thing about that game for me, I didn't like that being so late on the schedule because I think the league has a chance of wasting it. Like there are lots of good games and matchups, but you never put Kansas City at Buffalo like at the very end of the schedule, because what if one team is clinched or what if one team is down? Like just sort of you lose the luster of that game. But who knows? I mean, again, there's lots to consider with the schedule.
We're way down the line here. We're in December.
Yes.
Yeah, let's get there.
Right. Back to the AFC East. The Dolphins, like Mike indicated here, like general consensus, recognizing there's not really a consensus, out there, but a lot of football people are sort of bullish on the Patriots right now. Conversely, the Dolphins, it feels like maybe the window. There was a lot of this talk last year with the Bills. The window's closing or closed because departures. Miami hasn't ever gotten there, and now it feels like they're going the wrong way. That's my read. What do you think?
And that's exactly it, where you lose your left tackle in the offseason. They've got Jalen Ramsey twisting in the wind. They've lost some other guys on their edge rush. I'm seeing rookies being inserted into the starting lineup. And, yeah, it's like a window that was never opened has closed. Like they built they built this team to win it all in 2023, and they went like 9-8 or whatever they did. And so, again, it looks like a competitive team. The DVOA projections think that they're still a better team than New England coming into this season. But I don't see it. All I see is that they're going to be doing that same offense, and they're going to have Tyreek Hill and Waddle going in all different directions, and Tua pump faking it all over the place and trying not to get slaughtered in the backfield. And it looks like a recipe for 8 more wins. That's really what it looks like.
Do you have a Jets take, Mike? I mean, it's Justin Fields, and Aaron Glenn seems to want to just do things in a new way there, reestablish some sort of, I don't want to say culture because everybody calls it that, but whatever it is. Can that work?
They're taking the season off to find themselves. They're taking some me time. They're going to be in their sweatpants.
They're backpacking around Europe. Is that what's happening this football season?
Watching Netflix on the couch, whatever. Backpacking around Europe. Although they might run into the old quarterback there, so they got to be careful. I'm looking at the DVOA projections, and they're ranked 32nd in offense in projections. So
that's bad.
Kind of tells you where. Yeah, that's bad. That's bad. Pretty good in defense because you know the guys there, like Sauce and them. But 32nd is bad. It's in the 32-team NFL.
That doesn't seem. That's not intuitive to me with the Jets. I've probably liked Fields more than the average fan, but that's 2 Rookie of the Year caliber players in Hall and Wilson. Maybe that's it, but I wouldn't guess that they would have been last.
Yeah, Fields is always hey, I see why they're doing this, and maybe this is the year, but we're running out of this is the years with Fields. And they've got young talent, not a lot on the offensive line. I'm looking at them to say, how do they handle the fact that you've got Garrett Wilson, you've got Sauce Gardner, they're going to be looking for contracts pretty soon. First-round picks of the Jets, always at around year 3 or year 4, turn into weirdos, turn into pumpkins, start looking for money, or start having injuries, or start being no longer with the program. Because they're the Jets. It wears on them. And they start, looking for the next contract or whatever. I'm interested to see how they proceed with all the really good guys they drafted a couple of years ago, thinking they were going to be contenders, who have now lived through the Aaron Rodgers era and maybe just, marking time until they're free agents elsewhere.
Last one, Mike. The Chiefs, I believe it's 6 straight AFC championships in their own stadium. I mean, there are multiple ways to kind of talk them up. Are you the type to just sort of go right back to that? Well, it's Kansas City. What are we talking about? Or maybe with how the Super Bowl looked, and I think probably a better division, top to bottom. I don't know. Maybe this is a year to bet against them.
It is a little bit of this is the Chiefs. What are you talking about? They made steps to fix their biggest problem at offensive tackle, both by bringing in Josh Simmons as a rookie and bringing in Jalen Moore. The projections, and again, I'm doing Aaron Schatz's sting for him here, has them still winning that division. You're right, it does look tighter. I see that the Broncos are high in the projections. The Chargers are in the ballpark in terms of a projection. It comes down to that game should not be in their stadium anymore. That AFC Championship game should be there in Buffalo with you or out in Baltimore because there should be a more vulnerable Chiefs team. And if that's the case, that comes up to these teams, Bills or Ravens, if you have a vulnerable Chiefs team, to actually take them down in the playoffs.
My mistake on the stat, because they did go to Baltimore
after they beat the Bills
2 years ago right now, but they've been in the game how many years in a row since they lost to Brady in that overtime game. So it no need to illustrate their excellence. Very good, Mike. Well, it's been great to catch up with you again. I mentioned the Substack. Where else can we find you?
You can find me on the Substack. You can go www.miketanier.substack.com. It's called the Two Deep Zone, so you can search for it there. And you can find me on Blue Sky at Mike Tanier, Tanier.
Thanks for your time today.
You got it. Take care and enjoy the rest of the honeymoon.
All right, Mike. Always enjoy.
I feel like I'm on it at this point.
Right.
Oh, this is a honeymoon, this show, though. Coming in here every day. 10,000 times, is it now exactly on the number? Feels like 7,000.
Is that today?
It feels more like 7,000 than 10.
Feels more like 50,000.
On ADP Chasing last week, we were talking about our mocking voices.
Yeah. That's what I just
That's
did.
your mock. One of your mock. So these guys have several. I might have. Yeah, that sort of like.
What's the story with you guys? Yeah, I do have a few. That's not always the one I lean on, but it's pretty consistent.
I go lower and slower too with mine.
Yeah,
like you just did, lower and slower. I don't know why. When I need it, that's what comes out.
It's just more comfortable. To get to here, it hurts. So it's just nasally, and it feels like I'm hurting my throat. You guys and your receivers, give it a rest.
Oh, he's talking fantasy again? What was that? How would you describe that? That wasn't slower. I don't know what that was. 803-0550. You want to talk MVP, NFL, all kinds of different subjects. We're not going to take calls on the nudist thing.
Yeah, that's a good call. To not
what would they
take
be?
calls.
I didn't go there.
Yeah,
I don't know what it's like. I can guess, but I'd probably be wrong.
There's naked people.
I have a question about inside the NBA.
Okay.
Mike Schopp and the Bulldog back after the update on WGR.
Up OTAs this week. Tomorrow will be the one day this week where the media will be in attendance. We are expected to hear from Bills offensive coordinator Joe Brady before practice. And then after this week, it'll be mandatory minicamp, which is scheduled to be next week, taking place Tuesday through Thursday. Speaking of OTAs, Patriots' newest wide receiver, Stephon Diggs, was in attendance today and practicing for New England after missing last week. And then we did have some retirements today in the NFL. The big one, Lions 3-time All-Pro and 4-time Pro Bowl center Frank Ragnow. Ragnow did spend his entire career in Detroit after being a first-round pick by the team in 2018 and did turn just 29 in May. And then former Bills cornerback Ronald Darby also retiring today. The 31-year-old suited up for 6 teams in his 10-year career. The first 2 years were in Buffalo. And then the Mets, they are in Los Angeles tonight. A 4-game series against the Dodgers begins this afternoon with first pitch scheduled for just after 10 p.m. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
The nonsense and the foolishness and the top-notch basketball analysis, all of that stuff's going to be on. It's going to be on ESPN or ABC next year, not on TNT. For that, it's we're sad. But I'm proud to say for the last time, thanks for watching us. It's the NBA on TNT.
Ernie Johnson, so it is going to be the same show?
I'm not real sure what's going to happen. It's funny that you would bring this up. I watched a clip of a Charles Barkley appearance on the Dan Patrick show. And on one hand, I think like, oh, well, good. I'm watching one of the main guys from this show talking about what's about to happen. And I'm probably more confused than I would have been having this conversation with you now if I had not watched that. I feel like I'd have a better handle on what's about to happen because Barkley was talking about how they still want – they're not going to be always on ESPN. Sometimes they'll be on TNT, but they won't have any game rights, and he thinks they'll be on against games. And Patrick's like, so like a Manning cast? Like, yeah, but we aren't – we don't have the games. It's like, so it's kind of weird. And like, I don't know. I'm more confused now than I was, 5 hours ago before I watched this clip of Barkley. But yeah, the story is they're going to ESPN. But I don't know what kind of frequency there is going to be. Like if that is going to be like every like Wednesday and Saturday or what. I've not seen anything specific about how frequently that crew will be having that show on ESPN.
Okay.
But the plan, I believe, is to just move it over. TNT's still going to produce it. They're just giving it to ESPN or selling it.
With the same personalities.
Yeah, right.
Okay. I don't know. It doesn't sound like that much of like an ending to me. I mean, you got these guys are swearing. He's breaking up. He's choking up.
It is an ending for the net. I mean, they're not carrying basketball anymore on that channel. And that's where
they got traded.
All right.
If you and I get traded.
Right. Well, you have a news conference, and it depends.
We'll cry?
It depends on how long you've been somewhere. But yeah, I don't. If your point of bringing this up is to object to the emotional outpouring at all,
it's not.
Because that's been a staple. So it's a different network.
No, I am not doing that.
Okay.
I just
didn't mean to lead us there.
I'm a little bit confused by it if they're going to be on the same set with just on a different channel. Has the show ever sounded older than the use of the word channel? My point of bringing it up is instead this. I think it's really interesting and kind of awesome how popular that show is. I mean, it's not just, it has it both. It's not just fans love and laugh at these guys every time, but it's also like critical acclaim. They've won tons of awards. Like, it's just a home run. In a world where, and I'm not speaking for everybody, I know that, so many sports studio shows are so bad and disliked. I mean, how high is the bar actually? Do we walk in the door? You put together, hockey recently did this a few years ago with their new groups. Steve Levy, Messier, PK Subban. Is that fine? Like, you put together a new combination of people and roll the ball out, so to speak. You know, people are going to react how they're going to react. Football seems to have such... I'm stopping myself because I feel like I'm speaking for everybody. The shows are probably massively watched. I think when it comes to those shows, I do think of myself in the minority as someone that finds almost literally no value in them. I mean, I'm over here on the playground with fantasy football, where the insight that I come across is a million times greater than what Who Do You Want? Bill Cowher is telling me. And then they've got Bill Cowher and all the other guys narrating highlights, which, why do I need that? Why can't I have just the one guy who will do that? I've got to pass the ball around. So the Boomer is telling me what happened on this play in the Carolina game? I don't know. This subject has been one of ours for many years, and just like the laughter at things that aren't funny, and just the mistakes, and the just...
Boy,
absolutely not even first base level stuff that you get.
Very good point being made about the quality of that show.
So what is it? I'm not a devout watcher of Inside the NBA. I rarely watch an NBA game, but I get these guys. You know, when I see it, I think it's fun and funny.
Mm-hmm.
Is it just as simple as they have the right people? It's also interesting to me that these are like mega stars, Barkley and Shaq.
Right.
Not so much Kenny Smith, but they're just like legends. And I feel like those guys are less the type to offer you that, but not in this case. I mean, these two, it doesn't need to be said.
I think it really just comes down to the chemistry of the four men sitting there. Yes. I am not, need it be said, like I'm also not chasing after NBA games, but I enjoy that show every time I turn it on. And it's a testament to the personalities and them not being afraid to, but they're such big stars, at least O'Neal and Barkley, that they don't care if LeBron's going to get mad at them or whatever, if the fans of the Miami Heat are going to get mad at them or the New York Knicks, because I'm Charles freaking Barkley. You know, I think
that's the best.
Someone, you know, Boomer Esiason even is a big star, big radio host in New York City, was a star in the league. He's not Charles Barkley. Like, you know, like if he, and he's, you know, he'll share opinions. You know, right. It's not like he's scared. The radio show, I think, sort of brought that out of him. He's not on those TV shows anymore. Weird coincidence that might be. But you got to get to a level where you're not serving anyone, really. And that's what I think Barkley...
Other than your viewer.
Right. Barkley, exactly. Barkley and O'Neal... There's nobody within the structure of the league that I'm sure they have friends that they would rather not make mad, but they're not worried about getting leaned on because of an opinion about anything, no matter how negative it is. At least that's how it comes across. But I'm sure there's stuff that doesn't make the air that is maybe even better. But it's a fearless show, I think, within a construct that is generally designed to only promote the positive stuff about a league. And like, I'm not saying they go hard on different, a variety of subjects or anything. I'm just saying no one is immune to getting blasted by them. Mm-hmm. And once you've achieved that level of credibility, you don't have to shoot that often, but when you do, everyone notices and appreciates it, because not a lot of people get to a spot where they're at that level of exposure and they have the equation swung so much in their favor that the president of whatever at TNT probably very rarely can walk in and tell Charles Barkley what to do. Can't stop him. Because, the copy machine company is mad or whatever. It's like, I don't, shut up. You handle it. That's a power, and that comes across. That's where having stars at that level that have been there, and there's trust, I assume, on the panel there. They've been together for so long that they trust one another not to leave the other in the weeds somewhere or something. It's a show with stars so big that they can't really be told what to say. At least that's how I think it's definitely how I perceive it, and I think how a lot of fans perceive it. and that gives it a leg up on almost anything it's competing with.
The more I think about what else is out there, the less I feel like the point really holds up. I mean, I've hated these football pregame shows for forever, but baseball did well with A-Rod and Pedro Martinez, right, and Ortiz.
I was watching Saturday night, I don't know if it was FS1 or just Fox, but it was all that panel. And it's funny, as I'm talking about Barkley and Shaq, especially in this context, I'm thinking about, that was A-Rod, Ortiz, and Jeter for good measure.
Okay.
On a panel with, I think, Kevin Burkhardt at Dodger Stadium before Saturday night's Dodger-Yankee game. And there was nothing scintillating there, but the star power was impossible to deny. I mean, you're talking about three of the greatest players of their generation. Mm-hmm. Certainly in A-Rod and Jeter. I mean, sure. Ortiz was more one-dimensional, but whatever. One of the greatest DHs who's ever lived. I mean, that's a big crew. They should be able to do almost whatever they want, but I don't know if they're there.
How is hockey right now?
Hockey's getting by. I think.
Remember the verses and those years? It just was so boring.
Yeah,
and it just every intermission sounded like it was pucks to the net time, and I just couldn't.
I grade the hockey almost on a curve to an extent.
Yeah.
Because I appreciate when they try anything, because they're trying to find their footing. I don't know what Marc Messier is doing in the role that he's in. I think he knows a lot, and I don't think he's afraid to tell you. He just has trouble telling you. Mm-hmm. So that's tough. The TNT show, I love when Lundqvist is there. I think he's really good in that role. And lately, former coach Rick Bowness has shown up on that show, and I think he's really good.
Okay.
Well,
that could be part of inside the NBA's legacy is when it comes to baseball, bringing in the biggest names.
Yeah.
And getting something from that, especially if they're interesting, which those guys mostly are. I don't think Jeter's interesting, but the other two guys are. Maybe I should watch him and reassess. And just having it be, like you said, fearless, that's really a really good trait. I think of Johnny Miller every time. That's a long time ago now, but how really special I think he was in golf in the booth. Because, remember the Ryder Cup with Justin Leonard? He just did not hold back. I think he should be on the bench, he said about Justin Leonard, who then made the putt at Brookline to win the Ryder Cup after that. That's going to happen.
Yep.
But was not afraid to give you his take. And that's just a really good trait. So, all right, inside the NBA. We'll see how it's perceived in the future.
I hope I didn't add to anyone's confusion about it by mentioning this Barkley interview that I saw from the Dan Patrick Show, but it confused me. But the story is they're going to ESPN, still produced by TNT, so there still may be some TNT arm of it, even though they don't have the rights to basketball.
Well, I better get into basketball because I don't have the rights to TNT.
Oh, so this is good for you then.
Maybe it's good for me. Now TNT has the French Open. I can't watch the French Open then because I don't have TNT. Oh, the squeeze just never stops. The squeeze. What are you going to do next? How are you going to get me next? Mad Men reruns. How are you going to get me next? Golf.
Stanley Cup Final.
Curling.
All on TNT. Tough one.
For both of us.
No, I get.
You have Max.
I get that through my my other subscription.
Let's see. That's going to have to be a conversation. The finals is going to be good.
Yeah,
should be good.
Yep.
There's got to be some deal I can get and then get out, like you always want to do with Peacock. 803-0550, Mike Schopp and the Bulldog. Your calls are welcome. This is WGR. Welcome back. Thanks for listening. We'll look for your calls again at the top of the hour. We're talking about Josh Allen's chances at a second straight MVP award, among other things. And we might get back into that. I like first coach fired, too.
First coach fired.
Think about that one.
All right.
Ronald Darby retired. I liked Ronald Darby. He was flushed out, right, after McDermott Bean got going.
Sure, that was the same day as the Sammy Watkins trade. Same day. They traded Watkins
to the Rams and
got was there a corner? There's a corner involved in that. I forget the name now. But I feel like there was a guy.
There was a guy.
And then they traded Darby to Philadelphia for Jordan Matthews.
Yes, there was a guy.
He fit really well in the system. He had injury problems, but when he was healthy, he was really good. I can hear Sale talking about the guy.
E.J. Gaines.
E.J. Gaines. That's it.
Never would have gotten to E.J. Gaines.
You got a picture. Number 25, I think he wore.
How many games did he play for the Bills?
Ooh. He was here, then left and came back.
Played 11 games.
I was gonna guess 11.
I believe you.
How's 11 as a guess?
He played 11 games. He had one interception for 1 yard. That didn't go far. That return.
He should have tried a little
Might have been
harder.
a contested catch. And then he went to Cleveland the year after. Maybe he came back and
just didn't.
He did. He had a tryout.
Okay, I knew he came back, but yeah, I guess it didn't take. But all right, yep. So Ronald Darby retired.
Yes, and he was traded to the Eagles, as you said. Also bounced around. Darby.
Was last with the Houston Texans. I think I saw that today. That was the team he informed of his intentions to retire.
Well, it's good to know all this stuff as this week is the League of Schopes and Dreams draft week. So you want to know, I mean, no information is too much information. You want to know what's Houston going to do in its secondary? Who do they play this year?
I really need to know about Ronald Darby's playing status for your draft?
No, I can't imagine needing that information. I'm just kidding. But it's good to know stuff in general. And it's draft week, and that's fun. Jeremy and Joe are both skipping.
Oh.
I doubt I'll even get the Friday segment that I sometimes get with them to preview the Schopes and Dreams draft. They're both skipping it.
Controversial decision here?
I don't know.
Are they remote drafting or auto drafting? What are they doing?
No, they will be. They both told me they will be able to draft from wherever they'll be. Okay. Jeremy's at a T-ball game, he said. So he'll be what? Coaching first on T-ball, and he'll be on his phone. Should I pick Jalen Knoll right here? I love my receivers. Joe is out of town, so yeah.
All right.
It's a big event. This is year 8 or 9 for this league. It doesn't, in my opinion, have the juice it once had. You know, you start a dynasty league and everybody's super excited about that. The auction draft is the best day in fantasy to start up. And then, you know, years go by, trades are made, fun is had.
Luster fades.
I think a little bit. I think it does maybe fade. I've won 3 times. That doesn't help.
So boring.
That doesn't help. The others, I mean, I don't know. When you win, sort of, Mike again? Sick of him. Sick of that guy. At least he organizes it.
Maybe for the health and the buzzworthiness of your league, you should tank.
I wouldn't tank, but I will admit to you that I do kind of root against myself at times. Like, I didn't want to win back-to-back before because, I don't know. I mean, I do, but I think it's better for the league, just like you would say about real sports. Is it better for the league if you have different...
Spread it around.
Talking about the MVP earlier.
Right. Give everybody a chance here, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd like to win. I don't try not to win, but it's better for the brand, the Schopes and Dreams brand, if we get some new blood in there. Maybe it'll be this year. Back after the update, Josh Allen's chances at back-to-back MVPs. How do you feel? Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
Media day for Bills OTAs tomorrow will be the only day the media is in viewing portion for OTAs this week. And this week we'll wrap up OTAs with mandatory minicamp scheduled to take place next Tuesday through Thursday. Tomorrow, though, we are expected to hear from Bills offensive coordinator Joe Brady. Speaking of OTAs, Patriots news wide receiver Stephon Diggs was in attendance today and practicing for New England after missing last week. But the big news today was retirements. The Lions, the big news for today, 3-time All-Pro and 4-time Pro Bowl center Frank Ragnow announced he is calling it a career. Ragnow spent his entire career in Detroit after being a first-round pick by the team in 2018. He did just turn 29 in May. Former Bills cornerback Ronald Darby also announced his retirement. 31-year-old suited up for 6 teams in his 10-year career. His first 2 years were in Buffalo. No playoff action for the first part of this week. We'll first get going on a Wednesday, the Stanley Cup Final rematch between Edmonton and Florida. And every Cup Final game will be heard right here on WGR, with coverage of the Stanley Cup Final presented by Fiegel Car and Joyce, your border attorneys, and brought to you in part by Window Nation, the perfect fit for your home and wallet. Thursday, we'll then see the NBA Finals as OKC and Indiana look to claim their first NBA championship. And the Mets, they are in LA for a 4-game series that begins tonight against the Dodgers. First pitch just after 10 p.m. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp.
It's nothing you did.
It's not you, it's me.
It's not you. It's you, but you didn't cross me.
And the Bulldog.
Why did I choose? Why did I just stay in school?
On WGR Sports Radio 550.
Pretty sure this is old. Because the favorite to be the first or the next NFL coach fired should not be Doug Peterson.
Yeah, no, that's it's not a current list you're looking at there. Yeah,
January 3rd. Doug Peterson is the betting favorite, then Brian Daboll and Antonio Pierce. Brian Daboll survived.
Dead.
Not Antonio Pierce.
No.
Is there a parallel? So we were talking about the MVP award and would still love if anybody wanted to get into that conversation. Might not have been what you were thinking of when you woke up today. But, thinking about last year, and from time to time we did talk about Allen's chances of winning and how both Diggs leaving and maybe some Lamar Jackson, not fatigue, I wouldn't say that, but do we really want to, honor him 3 times? What kind of a year would that have to be? He tested that. Both reasons to think like the opportunity was a little bit more there for Allen. And he, of course, did win. Next year may be different. Coach of the Year, Sean McDermott has just never come close to this award. Unless he did when he first got here and they made the playoffs. Maybe he did. I shouldn't say I know he never came close. But these recent years when the Bills have been mostly romping through the AFC East, he doesn't seem to come close to the award. It's like Allen's,
right,
to his credit. And McDermott, finishes. Does he even get votes? I don't know. Like he's just never, it seems, among the favorites, at least, for that award. Would this be a year where that would change for any reason?
I think if they do the thing they have yet to do, which is have the year that is just like they look, they grab control of the 1 seed and never relinquish it. 14 wins, something like that. Then I think, despite Allen's presence, then I think maybe you get it. Even though, because the expectations, what undoes a guy like McDermott? I mean, it's not entirely because 13 seconds happened. Although, that leaves a mark. A game like that where you keep a team, you're perceived as keeping your team back from taking a big step like that, I think that is a scarlet letter that shouldn't be forgotten. But, I mean, it's already 5 years ago now. Still, I think if they have that year that exceeds the expectation, right? Kansas City's year last year. However you get there. Maybe even better for McDermott if Allen has the year Mahomes had last year, right? And this is not, the offense is sort of scuffling, but they find their way still to being the 1 seed, kind of in a runaway. Then I think you could maybe see it, but you would need a down year from Allen and an incredible year from the rest of the team, most notably probably the defense, where, he would get the credit for that. Of course, Bean's, acquisitions, the draft, the free agency would all get a lot of attention there, but it would be largely, look at what McDermott did. Allen only threw for 3,300 yards, and the interceptions were back, and whatever. I think that's a year where, but that's a very specific set of circumstances. He's not going to surprise anybody, so it's going to take an otherworldly season, I think, for him to get considered Coach of the Year. Consideration for Coach of the Year, excuse me.
It's often not defensive coaches either. Mike Vrabel has won. Ron Rivera, would he count as a defensive coach? He was a linebacker.
I think so.
Vrabel was a linebacker. But otherwise, the names don't exactly wow you for this one over the last decade. Rivera has won twice. Jason Garrett.
Boy.
Sean McVay, fine. Matt Nagy.
All right. Really?
Yes, really. NFL Coach of the Year. That's a Trubisky season where they won 12 games and went to the playoffs.
You know what I just did there? When you said Matt Nagy, my brain went Matt LaFleur. Oh, of course. And then you looked at me and I went oh yeah, this is the Bears guy.
This is the Bears guy.
About. This is not the Packers guy.
I believe now is the Chiefs' offensive coordinator.
I think that's right.
What a season they had.
Yeah.
On offense. Anyway, John Harbaugh, special teams. Kevin Stefanski, who has won twice. Vrabel, Brian Daboll, and O'Connell last year. That was well-deserved.
Yep.
Kevin O'Connell.
I think so, yep.
I met a guy...
But they all fit a certain script, and it's you weren't expected to be this good. Mm-hmm. I won't say terrible, but you weren't expected to be this good, and you were this good. Wow, okay, here you go.
We didn't expect that.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. That's what Jack Adams is.
Right.
You don't have... It's really whatever kind of team you have in hockey, I think it's mostly, we had you down here, you ended up here, so you must have done a great job.
Right.
Oh, your goalie made 93% of the saves. Still.
Yeah. Because
you must have done culture.
We're not idiots. We knew what we were talking about when we had you pegged for 21st in the league. So you must have done such an incredible job of lifting the entire franchise up to make us look wrong that this is the only way that could have happened. It had to be you.
We could never have been wrong.
No.
I met a guy who told me on Saturday that he bet the Bills to go 17-0.
What kind of numbers do you get on that?
I don't know if he bet an alternate line or every individual game.
Ah, I see.
Because as of now, they're favored in every game.
Right.
That may change. I mean, maybe it probably will as the season goes along. But as of the preseason lines, they're favored in every game. And I don't even know if I want 17-0.
Would that let you?
Is that crazy?
Yeah, probably.
All right, maybe I do then.
Why wouldn't you want 17-0?
Wouldn't we just be
scared they're going to lose in the playoffs?
Terrified?
Yes, sure. But let's find out. Let's say I want to take it on that ride.
Do you want? Here we go. Do you want the Bills to win all their games?
Right.
Let us know if you want the Bills to win literally every one of the regular season games.
Holy cow!
If they're 16-0,
right?
Does Allen play the finale?
Right. No, he takes one snap and sits down.
Does he?
Yeah, to keep his streak intact. Assuming he's played them all prior to that.
The biggest mistake the Bills made last year was beating Kansas City.
How's that now?
Well, if Kansas City was 16-0 going to Denver that final week, what do? They do the same thing? They do what they did? Carson Wentz?
Oh, it probably
for 17-0?
Right.
Having won 2 Super Bowls in a row, right? I mean, wouldn't they have played that hard?
Probably.
What would you have wanted for them? What would you, as an analyst, what would you have recommended they do? What will you recommend the Bills do? You know what? This show gets a bad rap for negativity. What would you do if you're the Bills and you're 16-0 going into that Jet game? I bet we'd hear some of this. Bulldog is covering his face with his hands right now if you're not watching on the stream. I bet we would hear some of this. It's only the Jets you can win anyway. Trubisky.
Right.
You can beat them anyway. At home. Let's see. What did New England do in its year?
They played against the Giants.
Was that the Giant game?
Yeah.
On the road?
It was a great game. Yeah.
It's a Saturday night.
Yeah, 38-35 or something like that. I have it as a very wild game.
Yeah, I think that's right. I feel like it was an NFL Network Saturday night game. 2007.
I think.
38-35 is correct.
Wow. All right. Congratulations, Brain, for having that piece of useless. Well, no longer useless. It came in handy just now.
Turns out it was not useless.
It was not useless. It was just taking up space, and that was its moment. Thanks for being there when you were called on, Brain.
If the Bills had not beaten Kansas City, I mean, they did beat them, and they were the 2 seed anyway. As it turns out, it wouldn't have known.
Right, sure.
But weren't we talking? You were about to say something else. Were we talking in December about motivation? The division was over December 1st.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to keep pushing here, or do you want to? I mean, you were always like one win and Chiefs loss away from getting there. Right. They just never gave you that loss until it was too late because of the Rams loss.
I think you have to go for history.
I like that.
I think if you have almost in any case, I am going to defer to resting. But you've got a chance to do something that's only been done one time, and you will have rest once you get through that game because you will have the bye. Now, I know 2 weeks off would be better than one, and certainly, God forbid, the unthinkable happens to anyone, let alone the most important people in the game that you're playing that you don't technically, not even technically, you don't need it. You need it because you want it for history. You do not need it for your season, for any of everything is the same if you lose that game. But the history piece is so big, I think. And in this era, I mean, it's 1972. There were like 3 good teams. It's just a very different landscape now. I know there were more.
And so you're not counting the Patriots because they lost the championship.
They lost. They didn't have the perfect season.
They did not have a perfect season.
They lost that game. Yeah.
David Tyree.
So, no, I don't happen to think that if you're 17-0, that makes it more likely that you're going to lose game 18, 19, or 20. They just keep playing. So it's really about health and injuries, and I don't know. I mean, I think I'm sitting here today in May, and June, first show in June.
It's
June, and I want to say that I would want to keep going.
Welcome, June.
I would want history, I think.
What if the Jets need it to get in? Does that matter? No. Well, you're saying play your guys, so that wouldn't matter.
Right.
You're already playing your guys. What would McDermott do?
But would I want the Jets in the playoff field instead of who are they keeping out if they get in? That's worth considering.
Denver. What if it's Denver?
Yeah.
How far can I take this?
Yeah, I don't know.
Can I take it any farther than I've taken it? If the Bills win the opener against Baltimore, well, I can hear Sal, who's already talking like this. Right when the schedule came out, he started talking like this. Like, if you look first half of the season, Jets, Dolphins, Saints, Patriots, Falcons, bye week, Panthers. That's 7 games. If they beat Baltimore and especially look good doing it, which they probably will have to beat Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, this is premature.
It's going to be there.
That'll be premature September 8th. This is June 2nd.
Yeah.
Is it premature on June 2nd? Some might say it is. It's fun. Then it's Kansas City to try to go to 8-0. Maybe Kansas City's like a 6-2 or something, and it's a big game. It's not about undefeated.
Right.
It's about big.
Right.
At Miami, Tampa, Houston, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati. Cincinnati, 12-0.
Mm-hmm.
Here comes our arch nemesis, our actual a team that they don't beat in the regular season every year like Chiefs, but the Bengals. Ooh, Bengals are going to want that game. New England, Cleveland.
I'm cruising.
Philadelphia.
This season's going to be cake.
And then the question.
I don't know. What about you?
I agree. I would go for it because that's the most interesting option.
Yeah.
I don't know that Sean McDermott would. Because, I'm not even sure he can. If you asked him now, if you got him to sit with this question now, which would be very hard probably.
Yes.
For him to take this question now, I think he would be like, buddy, we have not won a championship yet. We haven't even been yet. The franchise has never won one. Everything is about that. Don't give me this 16-0 question. I'm doing whatever it is I think is best for a championship. And unless he has changed his mind, they haven't gotten there, so I'm not saying like this has worked perfectly.
Right.
Necessarily, but Allen is going to play one play to keep his streak alive, and then we're getting out of here. I would think, I believe Sean McDermott cares about the historical stuff. I think he, any sort of real fan does. But how can you justify, from the standpoint of best interests of the team, making that choice just based on being undefeated?
Easy answer, momentum. I don't know.
Like they've won their playoff game every year of this since 2020, and to varying degrees. They couldn't in 23. They had to win, but other years the last game hasn't meant anything.
Right,
and we've seen what happened. Allen mostly sits.
Yeah, but again, that's not a perfect record.
That's right. That's the difference.
That is the big difference. I don't know. I think you're probably right. That he isn't emotional about it at all, which I think could be challenging, and just measured and just, right, we're all set. Whew, man, you
want this?
It's tough.
I want this.
That is tough.
Lose the first one, get it over with.
Lose the ball. Remove the question entirely. Realm of possibility.
Anthony is with us. Hello.
Wow. Yeah. Hey guys, how are you doing?
Good. Thanks.
Good. I'm sitting all my players if I can, even if it's a chance at a single moment in history. We've never won the Super Bowl. I think we got to give our best shot to win it. So that means sit people, even if we're 16-0, about to go 17-0. Play Allen one play and sit him the rest of the game. He doesn't need to get hurt. Saquon Barkley came for the single season rushing record, and he himself actually sat himself out because he wanted to win that Super Bowl. And, the Eagles' offense was very top-notch, but he was the engine that powered them. If he went out, I don't know if they're making that Super Bowl. Just wanted to bring that point up. So
Sure.
Appreciate it, guys.
That's a good point. Barkley was 100 or so yards away, and he didn't play, right?
Right.
That's a good point. Thanks, Anthony. Getting connected with the fans brought to you by Northtown Kia, Western New York's #1 Kia dealer. Shop online at northtownkia.com. What would Kansas City, now it's in hindsight, but we talked about this at the time. They were, 12-0 coming here last year? Ish?
10. I have 10
10?
in my head, but I can look quick enough. Unless you are beating me to it. You got it already? All right.
Or no, I don't. You don't got it. Mike, you don't got it.
Good job, Mike.
It was week 11, and the Chiefs were 9-0. They had an earlier bye, so they were 9-0.
Right. Okay.
A lot of the season still left before to be thinking about 17-0.
Sure.
But they were more than halfway there.
Yep.
And they did win every other game, and it looked pretty easy on paper before the loss in Denver, where they sat everybody. They lost that game 38-0 and had 98 total yards.
I don't think they really put their level best foot forward that day.
98 total yards. How do you even do that?
Denver's defense.
That could have been the lowest output in the NFL last year. I might guess that it was 98 total yards for a game. Break a run and you got most of that. Just break one run, parentheses 1. But is part of they didn't win the Super Bowl, and that would mute this mostly, if not entirely. But aren't you used to hearing You know, how it's good to lose a game?
Yes. No, that absolutely. There's the don't get anybody hurt point, but there is also the just purely just get it out of the way. I don't want to be perfect going into a divisional round game at home. I don't even care who it's against. I think a lot of fans would feel that way. And I get that. I just don't subscribe to it.
I'm going to ask Alex Gold if he knows or has an opinion on what the Chiefs would have done in Denver had they been 16-0 instead of 15-1, because they had it clinched. They were 2 games ahead of the Bills going into that 17 or week 18.
Right.
So they had nothing to play for there, and they got killed. The Bills hilariously lost to New England, which cost New England the first overall pick that they very well might have used on the same guy they took at 4. I don't know. Maybe not. No, they wouldn't have. Come on. They would have picked Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, but not Cam Ward if they'd kept the pick.
Right. Absolutely not. Right.
Here's Jim next. Hi, Jim.
Hey, how you guys doing? Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome.
Sure thing.
Yeah. So I thought here, the hypothetical we're talking about right now is, what the coach would kind of say if he was sitting down. I mean, none of us really know what's going through his head, and they're competitors, and they'll probably, give you all the speak that you said before. But I mean, for me, if I was the coach, or maybe even if I was him, I'm thinking you let the culture in the room decide that. That's a pivotal moment, and all those guys want to play, and they're all competitors. They all care. The ultimate goal is to win a championship, but maybe that sentiment changes with the gravity of that moment, right? Especially if you got momentum in that locker room.
Well, I like how you're thinking. I think this is where, a few different ways to put this come to mind, and none of them are exactly how I want to say it. But I think you need the coach to be the leader at that point. Like that, look, I'm in favor of playing, but I don't think I can let the consensus of 53 or 60 dudes decide, because they're going to have different agendas. The coach should be the one who can steer that ship. And he should take their feelings into account, especially the leadership group. But even then, as much as I would want to go for it, I think the coach has to be the adult in the room.
I totally agree. I respect the idea too, but I totally agree. If I'm a player on that team, I go, isn't this your job?
Right.
To decide, like, isn't this your job?
Yeah.
If I have a sore shoulder, maybe I sit. Anybody who's got something physical, then they maybe sit.
This is
period.
Grady Little coming out to the mound to get Pedro in 03 and leaving him in. No, your job is to take me out. I'm done. I'm not going to tell you I'm done because I'm Pedro freaking Martinez, but I'm done. You be a man, walk out here with your big boots on, and take me out. No, I'm staying in. Well, there goes the ball game. Thanks.
Sorry. I mean, it didn't exactly, get away, totally away. Oh, yes, fair point. Good comparison. 803-0550, we are talking about whether the Bills would play their starters in a Week 18 game if they were 16-0. Oh, you have a better idea?
It's June.
You have a better idea?
It's the first show of June.
June should intentionally be every day wackadoo hypotheticals. That's what June should be all about. That's the June brand. By end of July, they're on the field. They're on the field tomorrow, and Sal will be with us to tell us what he saw and heard. There'll be media tomorrow. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, back after the update. This is WGR.
We've been living in sin so long, all the feels are gone. Fella stopped me on the street last night, said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day upright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go! All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. Yeah. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. You seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again. You gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over, it's about time. Oh, all sing your high line on the roller coaster of life. You've got to all choose your time.
The Buffalo Bills will be back on the practice field tomorrow for OTAs. The media will also be out there for their one day this week. And this week we'll also wrap up OTAs for the Bills. Mandatory minicamp will begin next week, taking place Tuesday through Thursday. We are expected to hear from Bills offensive coordinator Joe Brady tomorrow before the Bills hit the field. Speaking of OTAs, Patriots' newest wide receiver Stephon Diggs was in attendance today. He was also practicing for New England after missing last week. And some big retirements in the NFL today. The main one, Lions center Frank Ragnow. Ragnow spent his entire career in Detroit after being a first-round pick by the team in 2018. He did just turn 29 in May, and he retires a 3-time All-Pro and 4-time Pro Bowler. And then former Bills cornerback Ronald Darby also retired today. The 31-year-old suited up for 6 teams in his 10-year career. The first 2 years were in Buffalo. And the Mets, they are in L.A. tonight to start a 4-game series against the Dodgers. First pitch tonight just after 10 p.m. It's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Welcome back. We have had a fun day talking about the 2025 NFL MVP outlook. Talked some nudity. A listener did say that family meant family, by the way, on the Ponderosa Resort.
Oh.
Someone claiming to be familiar with the facility.
Okay.
Family means family. Interesting. Also, golf versus Guelph. We didn't really play golf versus Guelph.
No, it's just merely a fun little wordplay.
That's right. I went to Guelph for most of the weekend. Bulldog played 2 rounds of golf. 2 more. Continuing his trend of playing constantly.
Does that count for the? I mean, it was before the show Friday. I mean, I feel like I'm gratuitously attaching that to the weekend.
But tomorrow and Wednesday.
Tomorrow and Wednesday. I was offered an opportunity to play on Saturday and went, no, I just played on Friday and I'm playing on Sunday and 3 days in a row. Like, no, I'm not the guy to bring with you on the golf trip where you play 36, and 18 and then drive home. I don't think I'm getting 36 and then the next day might be tough.
Man, you make a point right there.
I just can't.
That used to be maybe my absolute dream day would be. I mean, I played 36 holes lots of times in Rochester mostly because I worked mornings. So that was doable.
Yeah.
And I loved it. Let's go back out. If you had like a hookup or something, let's go back out.
Right.
Never did the trip like that exactly, but still, like, oh, I used to fantasize about that. Now the thought absolutely makes me shudder. When I played golf last Monday or 2 Mondays ago, by 15, if not earlier, I was shot. Like, I just done.
That was like scramble. Like, that's a longer day, probably, right?
It really wasn't, but yes. You're also not hitting as many shots.
That's right. And you're in a cart. I mean, I walk. Although I think my outing Wednesday will be a cart, but I don't get tired in that way. But the next day, I feel like, the walking and all the hitting and all the just like hitting. The only way I would get through it is to start drinking, and like that's not going to end well.
That doesn't make the next day any easier.
No,
I see.
No.
Here's Rick with us. Hi, Rick.
Hey guys, I'm going to make a quick point because of course I'm in my car. You caught me going into a car wash. I'm down with losing one game, but think about it. If we didn't lose a game, we'd be swiping it from Miami, which would be amazing, right?
Yes.
I kind of want to know if you can keep the connection through the car wash. How close are you to going in?
Well, stay with me because I'm in the middle.
You're in it.
Yeah, the connection.
Okay,
I'm in the car wash.
You're
right
just
now.
sitting pretty in neutral with the foam and the purple lights.
Wow. I'm so
All the
envious.
lights are going.
I tried to stop on my way here today, and the line was too long, and I just turned around and came out. It's just like I don't have time.
Yeah, I choose the no tire shine because I have a white car and it splatters all over. So
I see.
I choose no tire shine. So.
I think, Rick, you have done something important here. You have established that the car wash is not a hindrance.
Yes.
Exactly.
I think you've done something
Just because
here.
the radio fades out in there doesn't mean the phone will, I guess is maybe what we learned here. Because the radio definitely fades out when you go in there.
Yeah, that's right. Good job, Rick. All right. I'm going to lose you. I'll keep this quick. No, you don't need. Take your time.
Taking it from Miami. I mean, I like that. It's. I think I would still want it anyway. If whatever, if the Rams had this record, but Miami's is definitely tastier because every year when the last undefeated team loses a game, the champagne and the whole thing for them. I mean, just cut it out.
That doesn't bother me. I wish I could have something like that where every year
we do with the Sabres missing the playoffs.
We toast to that. No, I have not. No, I have not been included in that ceremony.
No, it's not been a joyous occasion.
You're not taking it for Miami either. You're just you're joining their fleet.
But you're doing it better than they did it because they had 14 games and then 3 playoff games, right? A divisional round, a championship game, and a Super Bowl. So, they got to 17. I'm winning 17 just in the regular season, buddy.
I'll give you the Miami rebuttal if you need it to that point. Because it's really the same rebuttal that those guys have always used when people talk them down as not like a classically great team. They had close games or an easy schedule or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it's that we did everything we were asked.
Sure.
And no one else has ever done that. So, we didn't play 20 games. They didn't let us. That's not my fault.
All right.
I'm Larry Zonka here.
So I think
that's not my fault.
But so I win my 17 and then I win 3 more and I've got 20. 20 is 3 more than 17.
Oh.
I'm sorry. What I did.
Let the rivalry commence.
What I did is better. Right? It is. Thank you for coming.
That'd be fun on, pardon the interruption, the next day after that Bills Super Bowl win for 20-0 until Dallas fires its coach, and then we talk about that instead. We're moving on. The Cowboys need a new trainer. Steve is next. Hello, Steve.
Oh, hey, guys. Tough act to follow with the car wash guy.
Car wash guy, yeah.
I agree that the 17... You gotta, if you got a chance to win it, you have to. And I think something that historical to then go on and go all the way almost kind of erases that whole era of the Super Bowl losses where it's like this accomplishment would be so great that it would outshine some of those defeats. Beside the fact of I do think doing it now would be better. Would be a little bit of a one-up on Miami, but it would just kind of take the stain from those Super Bowl years away. That's my point.
I hear that. What you've done is rewrite the reputation a little bit from, to whatever extent you care or it matters, from like a team that's known for losing. Say what you want about that, but I think that's fair enough, to the greatest season ever told. Yeah, that'd be good.
That's a pretty good swing.
The topic is, by the way, what are these guys talking about right now? There's a car wash involved. What are they talking about? If the Bills got to 16-0, and believe me, they have not endorsed this topic today. The Bills have not, I can say it for them, do not endorse a discussion about being 16-0.
And how they would handle that come January.
The Ravens actually had the idea and called in with this idea. Why don't you guys talk about winning every game? If they were 16-0, what would you do in Week 18 against the Jets? I know the math is weird there, but that's how football is.
I just love the thought. Like, you know, like I don't engage in it, but it's impossible, at least for me anyway, to avoid the shrapnel of the fan wars. And 2 years running with Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen being in the running for MVP, they're both contending teams, they're both in Kansas City's shadow. A lot of similarities. The fan bases have been at it, right? I need right now for there to become a thing already. Like the radio show in Buffalo is talking about going undefeated.
Yes.
They're overlooking the Ravens in Week 1. Please, someone bring this to me.
Yes.
make whatever needs to happen. Tag somebody on Twitter. I can't think of the guy's name. There's a guy that everybody was after last year from there. You tag him. Rope him into this. We're talking about just let's
You're
go.
asking for this.
Not really. Please don't do any of this.
Which team between the Bills and the Ravens would you sooner expect to go 17-0 and then lose in the second round? That's easy. Baltimore. CJ is next. Hello.
Hey, I got a quick question. Do you think the Bills are being cheap, so to speak? And I'll tell you what I mean when I say that. We seem like we're all in with Stephon Diggs at first. Like, hey, we got our quarterback, we got a wide receiver, we're all go. Our defense, we still have both safeties, we're looking pretty good. It didn't work that time or for that stint. But for this stint, it seems like it works what they're doing for longevity. But when you're at the door and you're constantly kicking at the back door and your only star, we don't know if Cook is coming back, is Josh Allen, why would you not push harder for, I don't know, for example, a DK Metcalf? I know he said we spent on Palmer. That's the GM's, that's my guy right now. But when you're this close, it seems like you're comfortable where you are, and it's like, I hope Josh Allen does it, but if he does it, we'll try again next year. You seem complacent, so to speak, if that makes sense.
CJ, you dare to take us off of the most fun topic ever, which is what would you do in Week 18?
To talk about whether they
should have traded for DK Metcalf, who was traded 2 months ago? CJ,
I do apologize for the inconvenience.
My guy. I mean, just... I don't know. I don't think of the Bills as cheap.
I don't think it's cheap at all. I think they believe it. I think that's to say it's unassailable, that it has to be correct. But, I mean, did you listen to the GM when he called the day after the draft? 30 points a game. They believe it. I mean, they're spending the money. It's just they haven't invested it in a receiver. I think they feel like they're better off spending it on edge rushers. I'm not being jerky when I'm saying that's what they're doing.
They spent money at receiver, but on guys that you really, it's not necessarily easy to buy it.
And it's not, because it's not at the elite.
The Metcalf
it's not
level.
it's not at the $30 million threshold. I mean, it's nowhere near it.
I would like for my team to have the guy that I can count on when it matters at receiver. That was Diggs to a point. In the playoffs, it came to be that he was not as reliable. And I think that probably contributed to the discord from their side of things. Other guys, A.J. Brown, you can name the same names. Those teams are more dangerous to me. But the Bills kind of have scoreboard on this from last year, unless you hold the 32-29 loss to Kansas City against them. Thank you, CJ. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog back after this. This is WGR. Where is Amari Cooper's deal? I just saw an Ian Hartitz graphic using ESPN Open Score metric for receivers and how his number in terms of separation has plummeted from 3 years ago to 2 years ago to last year. I feel like people are sort of onto that. But is he going to play?
Maybe not.
Doesn't he go to camp with somebody? Or is it maybe only on a level where it'd be a tryout and it wouldn't be worth it for him?
I wonder. It seems possible that given that stat you just referenced, the regular counting stats were not impressive either, largely probably due to that. Maybe word is out. He's washed. Maybe he knows it. Like maybe he knows he's lost something and doesn't want to go through the rigors of trying to prove himself to somebody. If he can't walk in as like it's Amari Cooper, like the way I sounded when they traded for him. Okay, there's a number one receiver. That's a long drop from that to, come on and see, maybe you're Chase Claypool. Like that's a big space. Maybe emotionally and mentally to get over.
I think what could be kind of funny to think about is if, say, Amari Cooper was traded by the Browns to like the Texans, Diggs goes out and Houston makes the trade the Bills make. And he does the same thing. They go to the playoffs. It's not really happening. But he had this wrist injury.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't maybe he be somebody we would have been talking about for the last few months, like to go get? And I'm sure there are Bills fans that would still want them to sign him.
It's possible. We'd probably still be mentioning these different metrics that indicate a struggle, but having not had him here yet, I could see me going, come on. This is a guy that's produced a lot. One down year. Houston, what have they proven? Whatever. The offensive line, Stroud's not, unassailably great or anything. There'd be a lot of ways you could talk yourself into it. Yeah, and I'm admitting I probably would be susceptible to some of it.
He was born on the day of the O.J. chase.
Really?
Did you know? June 17th, 1994. You ever watch the 30 for 30 on that date? I think that's the title of the movie.
I did. If it's the same thing, I know I watched an ESPN production about that was maybe more than one part.
Oh, not this then.
Okay. I've watched documentaries on that. Anyway, so I don't know if I've seen the 30 for 30 specifically, but I want to say yes. I don't think I would have not watched it.
Mm-hmm. I watched it last night.
Go on.
I did. I watched it last night. June 17th is the Rangers parade. Okay. The Knicks-Rockets Game 5 NBA Finals. Okay. Remember being at my job and having that on, and also the O.J. chase. Right. The O.J. chase. Okay. Like a lot. And the movie also includes Arnold Palmer's last ever U.S. Open round at Oakmont. Open is there this year, by the way, and that's like his home course, kind of. And it just every time they kind of go over here, over there, over here, over there with the four stories juxtaposed together, they would go to the Arnold Palmer one, and I just didn't really get it. Like, it was just Arnold Palmer duffing chips and missing putts and getting cheered.
Yeah.
He shot 81 that day, but I don't know, like the highlights they picked almost looked like they were mocking him because, like, it wasn't. It's just, he chips it and it goes 30 feet by.
I appreciate
that
obviously it's factually accurate that these events all happened at the same time, but I've never, ever one time in my entire life, I've never watched this show then, because I would remember them jamming Arnold Palmer into it.
He definitely jammed Arnold Palmer.
The way it feels right now is like, whose call was that?
I know, like just it's not
the Arnold Palmer lemonade people. Like who made that happen? Because I've never ever talked. You talk about the OJ thing. If it's the chase, the murders, OJ, the Rockets and the Knicks. I know the Rangers, but like I don't even think about that because for me the chase is all. I was also at work that Friday night at the pizza place. And, I mean, it was an incredible night to be with a constantly changing set of characters, right? People in and out working there, people in and out coming in to pick up food and eat and whatever. And just this incredible event was taking place while the basketball game was on.
Yeah, the OJ, like he's the whole day. The chase is later, and it was long drawn out, into the night. But it's also in the morning when he doesn't show up, and they can't find him. And you've got that police officer, that detective,
Furman.
No, he
Somebody
didn't
else.
do the press conference. David Gascon, I think is his name.
Okay.
He's like, right now we are actively looking for Mr. Simpson. Like, I mean, that was maybe like noon or something. Maybe noon Pacific. But anyways, it was like OJ was like the whole day.
Right.
The Rangers thing, who cares? The Knicks game was massive.
Yeah.
And Arnold Palmer. What?
Yeah, no, that does not work for me at all.
No, maybe at the time that was like a huge deal.
I wonder what obviously there's been a lot of pieces produced about that day and that event in our history. So I wonder what I watched. But what I watched was really powerful.
The Friday is like they can't find him, and then you go to Robert Kardashian literally reading what appears to be O.J. Simpson's suicide note. I've done the best I can kind of vibe, right? I've said goodbye to my kids. He says in the car, I already said goodbye to my kids. Like he's ending it.
Yeah.
And then you got the Bronco and that ride. I mean, that's legendary stuff.
What is the name of this thing you watched exactly?
June 17th, 1994.
Okay.
By the way, this is an Amari Cooper tweet.
Okay.
He was born on that day.
I think what the title of the production that I've watched that was maybe multi-parts was OJ Made in America.
Yeah, that's 5 parts.
Excellent. I think it was made by ESPN. Or like I saw it on ESPN.
Yes.
So.
You're right. It's within under the same umbrella.
Right. Okay.
You're right. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I watched that last night too.
all 5 episodes?
No, just part 3 I was on. Okay. Wherever I was left off from the last time I watched it. I don't know. It was in that mood, I guess. I don't know. Your thoughts on that? 803-0550. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog back after the update here on WGR.
The Buffalo Bills will be back on the practice field tomorrow, joined by the media for their one day this week, as Bills will wrap up OTAs this week. Then it'll be mandatory minicamp, which will take place next week. It is scheduled to go from Tuesday through Thursday. Tomorrow, we're also expected to hear from Bills offensive coordinator Joe Brady. Speaking of OTAs, Patriots' newest wide receiver Stephon Diggs was in attendance and practicing for New England after missing last week. But big news in the NFC. Lions 3-time All-Pro and 4-time Pro Bowl center Frank Ragnow announced his retirement earlier this afternoon. Ragnow spent his entire career in Detroit after being a first-round pick by the team back in 2018. Ragnow did just turn 29 in May. No playoff action for the first part of this week. The Stanley Cup will get going first on a Wednesday as it a rematch from last year, Edmonton and Florida. And every Cup game will be heard right here on WGR with coverage of the Stanley Cup final on WGR, presented by Figo Car and Joyce, your border attorneys, and brought to you in part by Window Nation, the perfect fit for your home and wallet. Thursday, we'll see the NBA Finals get underway. Both OKC and Indiana look to claim their first NBA championships. And the Mets, they are in L.A. A 4-game series against the Dodgers starts tonight with first pitch just after 10 p.m. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet is celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
I have a leg injury and a foot injury right now.
A leg and a foot. Are they on the same
side of my body?
Side of your body?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Left.
What happened to you?
I got stung by a bee. And then I think I got stung by another bee.
Oh, come on.
I think I did.
Well, when did this happen?
Last night.
Last night?
Last night. Who knew?
It's Mike Schopp.
Huh. Just never thought about getting stung by a bee at night.
I don't know.
But there would still be bees at night.
I guess.
Not to sound like the flat earth thing. The bees just don't disappear when it gets dark.
Okay, but I've never seen one at night.
Well, it's dark.
And the Bulldog.
Maybe they would not be out at night, but you disturbed it, so it came out and said, hey, what are you doing?
Yeah, they weren't expecting me.
I'm in here trying to watch the Vietnam War on PBS, and you're what are you doing sitting down in the chair? This is my time.
You are not supposed to. Right. This is our time.
Right.
That's what the bee said.
Right. So
on behalf of the other bees.
On WGR Sports Radio 550.
We are here. I haven't worked a Monday in a while. Memorial Day, golf tournament the week before. I am here today. I'm back from Guelph. How long of a distance is the cutoff for when you would just get a room if you had to go the next day? For me, I think I've realized this weekend, in fact, that it's 2 hours.
Yeah.
2 hours down and back, okay. This weekend, I have Syracuse, which is 2.5.
That's a hotel.
That's a hotel.
Yeah.
Plus, that's evening, morning.
Yeah.
Which makes it even more necessary.
Yeah.
Is that about?
There were times where I forced it and got a room didn't really have to, but come on, it'll be more fun if we stay over, that kind of thing. But yeah, driving back and forth. The reason I know Syracuse is my cutoff point is because there were 2 years when Owen was climbing the ranks where he was invited to like a state camp, and you got a shot to make it to the U.S. national team camp, which is, pretty cool honor. So you got to clear this hurdle. And we did that 3 times. The first time we did it was in Rochester, and the second 2 times was in Syracuse. Actually, there were 4 times. The first time was actually here, and it was only 1 day, but he was much younger. Anyway, that first year in Rochester, it was on the campus of RIT in their classic old rink. It was 2 days, and we drove back and forth to RIT.
Yeah.
Syracuse, we stayed. Both years we stayed Friday, Saturday into Sunday morning and came home and stayed in a hotel because I was just I'm not making this drive. And it was 3 days, not 2. I'm not making this drive 3 times in the course of 72 hours.
Right.
I'm not a crazy person.
Yeah, 2 hours. Guelph is a little less, but still like.
This is the border. You never know with that.
That's right.
That can tack on.
That's right. That was my decision.
That Syracuse will be hotel, but Guelph was not. You drove back and forth.
Back and forth.
All right.
Then it's Columbus, Ohio, and that will also be hotel. that is going to be like 6.
I think that's a good call. Yes.
All the rest of the trips are longer than 2. Well, not the Canadian ones. It's going by. A lot of. You've been driving a lot when you get gas 2 days in a row.
Right. Yeah, that's it.
And I get 40 miles a gallon.
Right.
So I'm up to 40 miles a gallon, right? Yep. So we've had fun on a couple topics today. One is imagining the Bills being 16-0 and having to decide whether to play their starters. Come on, right? Come on. Are you having more fun than that? The Jets are 9-7 with a chance at the playoffs. You've got a chance at history, but you never before would have even thought about playing your guys if it weren't for that one piece. Undefeated. That would be the only reason to change course. Imagine Sean McDermott in this spot opting for starting, playing everybody.
History, right?
I can't imagine him doing it. I mean, with the Bills' quest, maybe Andy Reid last year, when they've won a couple, would have gone for it. Because now you're trying to three-peat, which has never happened.
Here's something we haven't done. Not only has a three-peat not been done, but this hasn't been done either.
Now you're the best team of all time.
This many games, right.
Like you're in the conversation for the best team of all time. Yeah. If you go back to back to back with a 17-0 regular season at the end of that.
I appreciate that part of the argument, but doesn't getting the third championship sort of blow that out of the water anyway? Like you've already now done, you've been doing two things that have never happened. Well, that many games undefeated, no disrespect, Miami, 14. But you've got the three-peat, and whatever, if you're 16-1 and you get the three-peat, you're still going to be the legendary. You become you're on Mount Rushmore of football.
Well, they were playing for what? They were playing for that at 15-2, and you even know that the Denver game didn't matter to them, so it's pretty much almost what they were.
Right.
And they got blown out. So there goes that.
Right.
The fact that they got blown out is interesting to their... I should ask this, not say it. Is it interesting to their legacy stuff, the score of that game, the nature of that game?
The Denver game?
The Philly game.
The Philly game. Oh.
Not the Denver game at all.
Yeah, no. Okay, sorry.
Definitely not the Denver game.
What are we even doing here?
Not even that.
You're really asking me this?
No.
Yeah, still a no. Obviously, the Denver game's a hard no, an immediate no. I think it's one lousy day. I do not think, assuming they don't just disappear, right? Like they got whooped. And if they're never the same, then that's a conversation, I think. Like, what did Philadelphia actually do to them, right? Like, suddenly they won 10? What? What's wrong with the Chiefs? If we start asking what's wrong with the Chiefs, then I would want to start considering how much what Philadelphia did to them affects their legacy, because it will look, that doesn't have to end up being a correlation, but we will look for one for sure. I mean, if they got stomped like that, which they did, and then are never quite able to put the kingdom back together the same way, yeah, then it would matter. But if they win their 13 games this year and they're the 1 or the 2 or whatever, they win their division and they're the Chiefs, I don't know, man. To me, that Super Bowl's a footnote. The score was that crooked. It's a loss, but I don't know. I would not hold it. I don't think it'll be held against them if they, again, continue to be the Chiefs. Now, that is not even to say, or if they don't even get back to a Super Bowl. I think if they're a contender level like they turn into the Bills. They can't beat Josh Allen and the Bills. They keep losing in the divisional round. Next 3-4 years, I still would not be inclined to think what happened to the Chiefs. What did Philly do to them? Hold it against them? Anything like that? I think they'll still be a great contending level team. I think. I don't know. Did I talk too much here?
No.
I don't even know.
I'm kind of thinking while you're talking to try to pinpoint an ending to these dynasties is not easy. There are times when it feels like it. I can't think of a great example of that. Maybe there's a Golden State example of that. It's just like, okay, it's over. You've dominated and it's over. Players are going to leave. Things are about to change. Does that even work for the Warriors? I don't know it right, just like from memory well enough to say. But other football ones, it's not the way it seems to me cut and dried. I mean, the Patriots lose in 2005 after that season. Pittsburgh wins it. Is that the end of anything? I mean, they go 2 years, then they're back, and they went 17-0. And it's still a long time before they win another one. They beat the Rams in the second iteration of the Patriot dynasties. They beat the Rams. The next year, aren't they in the AFC Championship with the Chiefs, or no? That's the end of Brady? That might be different. That's Brady losing to the Titans.
Right.
The next year, they beat Kansas City in that incredible overtime game. Then they go beat the Rams 13-3.
Right.
The next year they lose in the first round.
And that's it.
it.
Brady's last pass is a pick six
to
some Titans linebacker or something.
Yeah, Ryan, maybe? That's the guy's name. Right. So that probably felt pretty final.
Yeah.
Although Brady then goes to Tampa Bay and wins again.
Right.
It wasn't over for him.
But it was over for New England.
Turns out.
Yeah. You know what? It's not a dynasty in the framework of, how it's usually judged by like winning championships.
Let me guess what you're going to say. Can I guess?
Yes.
When Drury and Briere leave?
No.
Okay, sorry.
But it is Buffalo. The Bledsoe and the Patriots with Parcells in 94.
Yeah.
Beating the Bills late. Now the Bills rebound and they win the division the next year, but it's Spielman and Ted Washington and Bryce Paup. It's different. All right, that core group. They're still here then too, but
well, that's right.
It felt like a torch being passed when Parcells and Bledsoe came out onto the field to shake hands with Marv and Jim Kelly. That felt like this is it. And the Patriots were ascending, as it turned out. The Bills dipped. They missed that year, but then 95, 96 they're in. 97 it's another dip. 98, 99 they're in, and then it's the drought. So it doesn't exactly work, but
Yeah, it doesn't really. Part of the Bills story of the 90s is that they fixed it twice. The first team with those additions, big names, and then they didn't get back to the final, but that team, and then after 97, like Kelly's gone, Marv is gone, and the older greats are still there, but it's new stars. 98 and 99, right? It's Molds and
right, Flutie eventually,
Marcellus Wiley.
Yeah. So I don't know that it doesn't exactly lie, but I thought of it because I've always been able to like sort of see that scene in my head. The end of that game, and it felt stark.
This really isn't much of a thing. These teams. These dynasty teams have great players, so it's not like they should just completely crash after they don't win one. Like the Dallas teams that beat the Bills after 93, that was a breakup. Jimmy Johnson quits, and that's an ending for Dallas. The next year the 49ers whoop them. And then a year after that, they win again.
Right.
With Barry Switzer. It's still Aikman, Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin. It's a lot of those important guys are still there. That's the thing about the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes still not 30. And the Bills in their way, and the Ravens, although not on the Super Bowl level yet, is you kind of assume they'll keep going.
Right. As long as the quarterback is capable of being one of the top 2 or 3 guys in the league, you, I think, feel like you're gonna be there,
right?
So that
what a loss like that can't.
And have we seen a year where that hasn't happened yet? Not really.
You mean what?
Those 3 teams with those 3 quarterbacks have been in it every year since they arrived as stars in the league.
Yep.
There's been no one's had the weird year. You know, where Burrow's the closest you can come. Last year was just a, whoa, what the hell happened there?
The Ravens missed once with Jackson hurt, I think. But that's the closest.
Right. If they're playing, they've been in it.
Yeah.
So
they missed in 21. Jackson hurt. And okay, yeah. That's right. I wanted to have learned something here.
Yeah.
You know, thinking about the magnitude of the Chiefs' loss, it just feels like I kind of want it to be, not just because it's Kansas City, but want it to be more meaningful. Like, guys start to get after each other and it starts to come apart. But their other Super Bowl loss was just as bad.
Right.
And then they won after that. You know, like they...
Right.
2 years later, right? The Tampa loss and then the Bengals.
Yeah, I do think, this is not to say that the players don't care as much as the fans, but they care in a different way, in that their investment level is so insanely high that I think it allows for you, if you believe that you did, you know, you and your teammates, as best you can know, did their level best, right? Nobody was out with hookers and blow at 2 a.m. before the Super Bowl or something, right? You know, everybody did their jobs, and you lose. I think for fans, because we have no control over it, it's harder, and it keeps you up at night more. It's like, oh man, he should have this or should have that. I think the players go like, wasn't our day, man. Like, we're good. I worked my ass off. I know you did too. And we got punched in the face hard a bunch of times in a row. And it was not any fun, but how mad can I be? I'm just going to pick up and keep going. I'm going to get back to work and try to do it again. And as I say, it's easy after a defeat like that. But I think in a certain way, the competitors are able to just put it over there. And I think fans sit with it a lot longer. I think. I mean, I don't know. Somewhere, some player who's within earshot of any of this is going like, you're making it sound like we don't burn when we lose. Like, I'm sure you have sleepless nights too. I just don't think they're not sitting around talking about 13 seconds 6 years later like we are.
No. Hopefully. What a drag.
Right.
That reminds me of a take that I still believe in, even though I don't think most people do. When I watch a baseball game, like a walk-off win in a baseball game, and the players just like freak out, they're jumping up and down on each other at home plate, and somebody's dumping Gatorade, I don't believe it. I can't believe you could be that excited after a baseball win. One win, you got to play tomorrow?
Right. It's all just a show.
Can't you just take, I think,
yeah.
I just can't believe, because the equivalent is the team that lost is like so mad.
Right. Yeah, no.
And, you know, you're the Astros and you just lost on a walk-off hit. Okay.
See you tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah.
Or you win on a walk-off hit and it's just like absolute pandemonium.
Mayhem, yeah.
I watched some of the Blue Jays on Saturday. They beat the A's 8-7. And it wasn't a walk-off win. It was a fun, exciting finish. Diving catch by Ernie Clement up the middle. They would have tied the game at second. He made a great play. So they win 8-7, and George Springer had 2 home runs. They've got the special jacket now when you hit a home run, or like a mascot head or something like this now, a hat. Jays have a jacket. And he comes out to do the interview, and here comes Guerrero and another guy with the Gatorade to dump on Springer during. Like, it's not a playoff series win here.
Yeah.
It just seems a little much.
Yeah.
All right, we won. Good.
I feel
handshakes.
You there. I feel you there.
You believe it? You agree with me on this?
Yes, I do.
You
got time for one old man baseball opinion?
Yeah, that's only fair.
When teams as historic, with a rivalry as extensive as the Dodgers and the Yankees are playing on national television on Saturday night, you should be wearing the uniforms you grew up in.
Oh, boy.
Not like some new thing. Dodgers had like their city whatever.
City Connect?
And it was, fine, except save it for the Padres, all right? It's the Dodgers and the Yankees. I need the Dodgers with the script and the red number and the whole thing. And like, I'm not, this game just got 50% less interesting to me because it looks like you're playing the Milwaukee Brewers. And Yankees Brewers, I mean, that does not make my pants fly off.
Pass.
Dodgers, Yankees, there's pants flying off potential. Like, hey, this looks great. Stupid.
They would tell you they did play 3 games.
I know, and they wore them last night.
They wore the Saturday digs. You don't like the Saturday look.
Yeah. Believe me, when that game started, I nothing else was on last night. The golf ended. I turned pregame on. As soon as they started talking about Dodgers, Yankees, I'm like, man, they better be wearing the right uniforms tonight.
Or else I'm out. I'll tell you what, they were wearing the right uniforms on that OJ stuff I was watching while you were watching the Dodgers and the Yankees. Uniforms were right, whatever that means. Mike Tenier with us earlier talking football. That's next here on WGR.